Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? It's me coming back at you again with another live hangout vid. Not gonna make this too long, so I wanted to go ahead and get into it. Just right now, shout out to all my commenters or subscribers and all my listeners out there. I really appreciate you guys. So while I've been, on EJ's boxing, EJ Boxing's live hangout for a minute, just thought I'd go ahead and do my own. It's only been a couple of days. Uh-oh. Battery needs to be recharged, but that's okay. I'm right here next to the power outlet, so we'll get that taken care of real quickly. Um, we definitely got lots to cover, man. Lots and lots of news to cover. And you guys know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about that epic, that that I'd say was out. That there's nothing more to need to be said about that. That was an epic social media interview on boxing that I've ever seen that conducted on the Boxing Voice. So shout out to the Boxing Voice. No, they had a interview with surprisingly Eddie Hearn, and on that interview panel when they not only did they had Eddie Hearn, they also had Deontay Wilder. Not only they had Deontay Wilder, they had Shelly Finkel, who's Deontay Wilder's manager on that interview platform. And last but not least, they also had Tyson Fury on the interview platform on the Boxing Voice. Wow. Where do I begin with this? It all started off with the Eddie Hearn interview. I think it was like the first 15 minutes of the interview, I believe, where Eddie Hearn was giving his thoughts and his thoughts about Deontay Wilder and his fight against Stiverne, about making a potential fight with Wilder with his fighter Anthony Joshua. Eddie Hearn going to his spiel, trying to pretty much downplay Wilder's, record as a heavyweight champion. Look, we all know he doesn't have the greatest resume. We're not saying he has the best resume as a heavyweight. No, 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 no. I agree with Eddie here on that. But for Eddie to say that, well, to compare Anthony Joshua's fights on his 18th pro fight versus Wilder's 18th pro fight, to say that Joshua is superior than Wilder, okay, I mean that's what you got to do to support your fighter. I get that, but let's put this in proper context. Yes, Wilder. The point that Eddie was making it as, look, his guy had a fast start at his run as a heavyweight champion than Wilder. We get that, but it doesn't negate the fact that Wilder is the heavyweight champion. It doesn't negate the fact that he is more than likely is the number 2 rated heavyweight in the world. I know some people have a different opinion on that, but at the same time, let's be realistic. Anthony Joshua is the number 1 heavyweight in the world. Let's be honest, he is. And Wilder's number 2, followed by Parker. Anyhow, Eddie Hearn, the reason for him not making this fight happen at a rate that we want to see happen is because he feels there's not enough revenue streams to support this fight at the moment. But what I'm confused about when he made that statement is that he also said later in that interview that, well, us taking this fight, and this is only from paraphrasing what he said. He said, look, us taking this fight is not about the money. It's about being great. Something within the lines. That's what he said. I'm like, well, you said initially that the money is about the reason why you can't make the fight right now is because there's not enough money revenue streams to support it. But yet you turn around and says that it's not about the money. We want the fight. I'm very confused about that. He gave so many answers that were very vague to me in that interview. And I like Eddie Hearn. I respect him, but he seemed very dodgy on certain questions that was presented to him. Because there's one particular question, and I'm glad one of the hosts on the Boxing Voice, it wasn't Nez, it was his co-host, who brought up a very good question to Eddie Hearn, and he asked him, well, we understand, and this is what he said, look, we understand that, we can't make this fight happen at a rate, at a sooner pace that we would like. I understand that, Eddie, but why not draft an agreement with Wilder like Ward and Kovalev style, where you guys get Joshua gets some interim fights and gets some interim fights. Wilder gets some interim fights, and then once you guys get past your interim fights, you meet at a later date. Why can't you do it that way? Why don't you sign an agreement that way? So Eddie Hearn responds by saying that, well, I don't like the way that's being done in boxing. That's very sloppy of doing things. But yeah, it gets to my. I just don't quite understand that. Well, Eddie, if you can't guarantee the fight, then how do you, how can you say that the fight will happen, but you won't guarantee it? That's what I don't understand. I have a hard time believing that logic. You can't go around saying that the fight will happen, but you can't offer no guarantees. That makes no sense to me. Okay. And I don't know what his motives are behind this, why he's being so vague about this situation and how he's approaching it. Look, I still have some bit of confidence that he could make the fight happen because Hearn has got things done. But I don't know if he's I don't know if he's waiting for Wilder to slow down. I don't know if he's I don't know if that's what the strategy is. That could be the only logic. I don't know. I just don't like the vagueness that he's up, the vagueness approach that he has towards this fight. Again, if you don't want to, if it doesn't have to happen right away, so be it. Just draft an agreement. This is all Wilder wants. He's compromising. He said, "Look, I'll whatever obstacles you want me to do, I'll fight you. I'll take some interim fights, including fight your guy Dillian White, as long as you guarantee me that there's a contract in place that I get to fight your top guy." And Eddie doesn't want to do that. That makes no sense. Okay, then Shelly Finkel got on the line, and Eddie claims that the Wilder's team never approached him about getting, adding Anthony Joshua onto the deal, to the deal that they proposed. Shelly Finkel said that's not true, Eddie, based off the conversations. This is what we had, blah, blah, blah. But Shelly, they were going back and forth a little bit, but Shelly's like, look, Eddie, here's the deal. It doesn't matter what happened between us based off prior conversations. There's two sides to every story. Everyone who's listening to right now is going to take it the way they believe it. Here's what we want. This is what we will do. This is what we proposed. Here's what we propose. Here's what we propose. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting sidetracked a little bit. So here's what we propose, Eddie. We want the fight. Okay, we want it. Now, if you're serious enough, you said you want it. You said that fight will happen. If you're serious enough to take the fight, we will do it. Just let us know when. And so Eddie Hearn's like, look, I'm in New York. So basically what we can do, Shelly, we can meet up. I'll be in New York. I'll be in Long Island because obviously he's out here right now because he's got to promote his first U.S. on card under Matchroom Sports USA. And Danny Jacobs is headlining that card. And that's on HBO. Can't wait to see it. So he told Shelly, look, I'm in New York, Shelly. So we'll meet up and we can talk about it. So look, I'll take Eddie Hearn's word for it right there. He says, look, Eddie, look, Shelly, I'm here. Well, let's meet up. Let's do it. I'm here. We can meet up. We can discuss this. We'll talk about it. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. But the way he came across that interview to me, man, it seemed a bit vague, man. He seemed very, very evasive about the questions and the answers that the questions that was presented to him, and he gave some vague answers on it. So I don't know, Eddie. You just got to get your messaging. You got to get your messaging together, man. You and your fighter, Joshua. But speaking of that, I wonder why Anthony Joshua didn't get on the line because Deontay Wilder got on the line before Shelly Finkel. Him and Eddie Hearn went at it, and they were going back and forth. Wilder called him, pretty much said that you're lying to the public about our conversations. You got to stop doing that. And Wilder also says that, where's your fighter? Why isn't he on the line? Why you keep talking for him? Why you keep speaking for him? He needs to speak for himself. And Eddie said, look, my fighter's, he's enjoying his time off with his family, so I can't, disrupt him, disturb him from doing that. Which is true. Look, fighters got to, take some time off. They got to do this and that, and especially you got a $20 million payday. Why not? You don't want to be bothered by anybody right now. But it would have been helped if Joshua really got on that line and spoke to Deontay Wilder. That would have been epic if they actually had a conversation back and forth. And last thing you know, Tyson Fury got on the line. Of course, his voice changed due to excessive weight gain and all the other stuff that he's doing. But Tyson Fury is a clown that he is, man. Dude, I'm serious. I really hope that he comes back soon because he is a sign of, somewhat of a sign of relief when it comes to the heavyweight division. We need that type of style, stop trash talking that type of approach. We need that type of brashness from likes of Tyson Fury, man. He got on there. He said, "What's up to Deontay?" He called him Bum Squad. But Deontay was like, "Hey, man, it's all good. We can all joke, whatnot. But I promise you, we'll fight, brother. Believe me. After I get through Joshua." And he was like, "Well, Deontay, I hope you don't fuck up my $50 million payday, man. Don't fuck that up for me." And he told Eddie, he's like, "Look, Eddie, why you giving Wilder? Why you let Wilder a chance to knock out my chance of winning $50 million, Eddie?" Hey, Eddie was like, "Hey, Tyson, why don't you get back in the gym, man? We will love to see you again, man. Get back in the gym. Get back in the chin." And he also talked to Eddie Hearn. He's like, "Man, I smell pussy from you, Eddie. What's going on with you and Joshua?" That's what he said too. He's like, "I smell pussy from you, bruh. I smell pussy." I'm just only paraphrasing what he said to Eddie Hearn, but that was an epic interview. Shout out, hey Red, what's going on, Red Fox? Yeah, the interview was actually today, man. So it's on the Boxing Voices channel. Take a look at it. It was epic, man. That was a damn good interview. Oh, what's up to everybody in the comment section? We got Ambitious D. What's going on, brother? 1224529. What's going on, sister? Yo, boy, what's happening, brother? Rock 89. I'm definitely back, brother. What's going on, man? Your boy says that what's going on, your boy? As usual, man. Let's see. They deserve the way they set that shit up. Yeah, you know what, man? That was a damn good interview, man. The Boxing Boys really good job with that one, man. They did a hell of a job, and it was amazing how they were able to get those guys on, man. That was crazy and that was epic. Yeah, Wing King, man, 76, man. What up, man? Yeah, I agree. That interview was the shit. Yes, 1224529. Yeah, that interview was something else. I'm telling you that right now, man. It was a breath of fresh air when it comes to this YouTube platform, the YTBC, whatever you want to call it, the boxing community platform. But hey, LDBC, YTBC, you name it. We're all in middle ground here. But that was a damn good interview. Damn good interview. You know what I mean? Red Fox, was it a conference call? No, no, no. It was actually it was an interview where the box. No, it was not a conference call at all. It was actually a radio interview. So yeah, yeah, man. It was definitely, yeah, guys. That was a definitely epic interview, man. It was definitely refreshing to hear things like that from all sides of the angles. If you ask my interpretation on this, my perspective, again, I really think the fight will happen, but I just don't think that what Eddie Hearn is saying that it's going to happen, but yet he won't guarantee will happen. That to me comes off across as if that he's being very strategic with his fighter. Is either me, he's believing that he's hoping that Wilder will slow down, not by age. No, 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 no. Let's not get it twisted. What I mean by is if Wilder is going to take tougher fights, which he will have to do that. And if he does get touched up in those fights, then those will be signs of him slowing down, and then there'll be a perfect opportunistic time for him to take the fight with for Joshua to take the fight with him. That could be a possibility because that's probably what it is. Rock 89 said, "Did you see the way the Stiverne died in the quick sec?" You know what? Yeah, he folded like a fresh white T-shirt. You know what? What bothered me is the way the Stiverne approached that fight. Okay, yeah, he set up some fireworks in that press conference before the fight. It got people interested. I have to say that Stiverne actually helped sell that fight for more people to tune into it. We haven't actually got the viewership figures yet. Excuse me, the viewership figures. We haven't got that yet, so we'll wait for that. But what concerned me is that he came in 20 pounds over his usual fighting weight. He came in at 254, and he usually weighs in about 234 or 235 in going into fights. And I said to myself, I was like, you know what? That to me is very disturbing because I think that him coming in that heavy, coming in 20 pounds heavier than he usually fights. He hasn't fought in 2 years. He didn't look great in his comeback fight after his first loss against Deontay, his first Wilder loss. That was back in 2015, and he got dropped in that fight against Derek Rossi. And again, he didn't look good. He struggled in that fight. He squeaked it out with the unanimous decision on points, 10 rounder. So I was like, you know what? I think Stiverne's going to get knocked out. I said he was going to get knocked out prior because I said, you know what, Deontay Wilder already knows his style. He fought him before, so he knows what to do in there against him. But the fact that Stiverne came in overweight like that, I said, you know what, this guy is going to look very slow and look very sluggish. Okay, and I thought Deontay was going to knock him out no later than at least up to the fifth round. And boy, I was wrong, man, because I don't recall Stiverne even landing a punch in that round. I don't think he did. He threw the 3, 4, 5 shots in there. Uh, but it is what it is. I think he threw 3 shots. He didn't. I mean, he didn't land a punch. Of course, Wilder teed off on him with with that dangerous right when I landed a jab and a right cross to follow with it, the 1-2, and then knocked him down. And then he followed up with those famous windmills that Deontay likes to throw, but really got him to get him to knock him down the second time. And then the third time, Deontay ran over there like he was going to do a crossover, and then he came in with the right and then come in with the straight left, and then he finished him off. I mean, Stiverne was out cold, out on his feet, man. That was a bad knockout. Bad knockout. Ugh. Let me see. James Boone, what's going on, sir? I know you and I interacted for a moment. You said here to clarify your earlier point. I think Eddie said that AJ doesn't care about the money, but it's his job to get as much money as possible. Okay, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's a good point, man. The thing is, yeah, you made it. Yeah, thanks for clearing that up for me, man. Yeah, that's what Eddie Hearn said. So AJ doesn't care about the money, but it's my job to to get as much money as possible. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense to the statement, but still, though, there's a lot of factors that this fight is in much demand, and there's a lot of money to be made for it. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what AJ Hearn's motives are. It seems to me that they're trying to. I don't know. I don't want. Like I said, it seems to me they're waiting for the guy to slow down. That's just my opinion on it. That's just my opinion on it. But I hope I'm wrong. Maybe it will happen sooner than we think. Again, if you can't get the fight sooner than than it's expected, then sign a contract where both fighters get interim fights in between, and then they'll fight the later year. That seems to that I don't see why that's a problem. Why can't they just do the Ward Kovalev deal and like the Holyfield Tyson deal or the Morales and Pacquiao deal? I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know why it's so difficult, but hey, what Eddie said though is he said that's a sloppy way of doing things. Hey, that's his opinion. So it is what it is. Let's see. Red Fox says that AJ the Riddick Bowe where Team Wilder is getting that shit from. But I mean, hey, look. I don't know, man. I wouldn't go far to say it's Riddick Bowe, man. Hold on. Hold on for a second, y'all. Sorry about that, y'all. Technical difficulties, but I'm back. But anyways, yeah, I just the Riddick Bowe and the Deontay Wilder comparison. Nah, I mean, look, as I last time I checked, Deontay Wilder's had has several key marquee, several significant names that failed drug tests against him. That's why those fights got called off. And you got one fighter who's either reluctant to fight the guy or he doesn't want to fight the guy. That's Anthony Joshua. And the guys who failed drug tests against him was Alexander Povetkin and Luis Ortiz. Now I'll get to Ortiz's situation in a second because I know that's a unique situation. Uh, yes, I wouldn't say that he's go far to say that he is a Riddick Bowe of today's heavyweights. Not just yet. I wouldn't say that. DCB, what's going on, brother? He says here, quote, Team Joshua is running for their lives because they got so many excuses, even their fans are confused. Well, you know what, man? I'm gonna take a neutral stance on this one, man. I just think their messaging is off, man. I don't know what is going on. Like I said, do they want the fight? I think they want the fight, but I think they are being very strategic about it. I think what they're trying to do is like Eddie Hearn said. He's saying he's trying to get as much money as possible for it. Okay, fine. But to me, I mean, the thing is, they are the A side at the end of the day. They get to call the shots, which Wild and his team do accept those. They do accept those circumstances. But I don't understand what they're trying to get out of it. I really think they're trying to wait for Wild to slow down somehow, some way, and try to take the right, then fight him at the opportunistic time. I think that's what they're trying to do. Yeah. Rock 89 says there was a third fighter near that failed the drug test against him. Yeah, that was Andrew Warsick. And that was a fight that I did not like, to be honest with you. I didn't like Wilder taking that fight. I'm glad it didn't happen because he shouldn't be fighting a guy like that, to be honest with you. Even though he's coming off an injury. I know some of the guys and I were chopping it up about that. But the thing is that Deontay has trouble with that arm, with that right hand prior to that injury. And I felt that he should not have fought a guy like Andrew Warsick. But again, that fight didn't happen. I'm glad it didn't happen. So he got Gerald Washington instead, which actually was a better opponent. So I'm cool with that. So definitely. Red Fox says here, I just came across something about potential AJ Parker fight in March, but last time I checked, Parker and Brown are in talks. Yeah, you know what? I was going to talk about Parker and Brown. You see, you got the title of my video. Parker and Brown, for what I just heard just right now, just not too long ago on some of the guys' channel, Kiwi Box and Mr. Boxing Today. Shout out to those two. They said that I think Lucas Brown had just made an announcement that they are pretty much everything is a done deal. The only thing they have to do is sign the contracts, and they'll be ready to go for that fight. That actually would be a good fight for Joseph Parker and Lucas Brown. That would be a good fight. I'd be honest with you, that's a very dangerous fight for Joseph. To be honest with you, a very dangerous fight. So I can't wait. That's a good fight between Australia and New Zealand. If anything, I'm picking Parker to win that fight. So yeah. So Red Fox, exactly. We're just hoping that fight gets signed. That's the only thing that needs to be done now on that one. So I probably will get Kiwi on here to give that he can provide his insights on that. Let's see. DCB says, look, their messaging is off because they are scared says when does signing a contract does not make any sense? How sway? Yeah, I know. Like I said, man. Yeah, I agree. The messaging is off. I don't think they're quite scared. I just think they're being strategic. Like I said, man, I just think they're trying to wait for Wilder to slow down. What I mean by that is that they're hoping that he takes dangerous fights, which he will have to. He'll take dangerous fights. If he gets softened up in those fights, and they'll go ahead and take it at an opportunistic time. I think that's what they're planning. That's what it seems like to me, based off of their approach. To me, okay. And people are going to say that I'm hating on that. No, I'm not hating. I'm just looking at the situation for what it is. I mean, I could go to the Luis Ortiz situation, how they approached it. I don't want to go into that because I covered that on my last hangout. So yeah. James Boone says money is the main motivation for Hearn. There's no doubt about it. I just want the both sides to give each other the benefit of the doubt. You know how I feel about all the hate. Yeah, James, you make an excellent point. I actually agree with that statement 100%. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here as well. I'm trying to give Eddie Hearn the benefit of the doubt because he was the one in the hot seat. He was the one who was like really backed into the corner. He was giving vague answers in that interview with the Boxing Voice, and these were not very hard questions to answer. He was just giving very, either he would. You could. Sometimes I thought he was going to answer those questions straightforward, but to me, it seems like he was trying to tiptoe off of it the best way he can. So I am trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because he ended that discussion by saying, look, Shelly, this is Deontay Wilder's manager. He's like, look, Shelly Finkel, I'm in New York. I know you're in New York too. So let's meet up. I'll be here for a week. Let's talk about it. Let's get something going. Let's try to finalize it. So I'll take Eddie's word for that. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there, but I just have to, he does have to be called out for his vague answers today in that interview. And I like Eddie Hearn. Don't get me wrong. He's done tremendous for the sport. He's done a lot of good things. He's made a lot of big fights happen. But there are some things that he needs to be called out for, just like Al Heyman needs to be called out for certain things. And Al Heyman's done some great things, So no promoter is no boxing promoter or manager, by that matter, is 100% clean slate, as I call it. They are going to have a little bit of baggage here and there. All promoters are not saints. So that includes Eddie Hearn, that includes Al Heyman, that includes Don King, obviously, Lou DiBella, Bob Arum, you name it. Let me see, DCB. Oh, Red Fox says, I'm glad it didn't happen either. Yeah, you talk about the Warzick and Wilder Warzick fight. Yeah, I was not happy about that fight. Believe me, I launched a video where I was very displeased with that, to be honest with you. But again, I'm glad it didn't happen. Wilder got a better opponent. He knocked him out in the fifth round, so that's good. DCB says if Parker is trying to clean up all the seed level fighters in his division, fuck the other champions. Well, bro, you know how I feel about Joseph, man. Joseph Parker is one of my favorite fighters, man. I like Joseph. Um, yes, he didn't look good against Huey Fury, but let's put this in proper, let's put this in proper perspective. Huey Fury has never been knocked out by anybody. Okay, I don't recall he's ever been knocked down. I mean, he may have been knocked down in his previous fights. I think he has. Please, if anybody has any information on that, please let me know. Huey Fury, uh, Huey Fury, based off his style of fighting, it's very difficult to fight a guy like that, just like his cousin. They have a very awkward, tricky, and a style that's very difficult to figure out. And yeah, Joseph did look good against him. He got the win, just like he didn't look quite good against his last minute replacement, Rajan Kajani. But let's be fair though, that was his sparring partner, and Kajani knows Joseph's style, so he knows what he could do. So obviously that didn't make Joseph look good. I know he was frustrated at the end because he was trying to knock the guy out, but he couldn't do it. So he's still a good fighter, man. He's still a good fighter. He's a good heavyweight champion. I think him fight Lucas Brown is a good step up from his previous competition. Ever since he held the WBO title, so it's definitely a step up from Huey Fury. I'll tell you that. So a Lucas Brown fight is a very good fight. And Red, I do agree. New Zealand's best heavyweight versus Australia's best heavyweight. I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Wayne King says battle of the semi bums. Come on, man. Come on, y'all. Brown and Parker and Brown are not bums, man. They're very good fighters, man. They're very good. Believe me. Brown is not as good. He's not a good technical fighter, but based off the style and the limitations he has, he is a good fighter. He's a good fighter. And he won't go down. You have to throw a kitchen sink at him to net and take out Lucas Brown. So he's got a damn good chin. But obviously he can't get hit like that, especially at his age. What else we got here? The Figs won. What's going on, Figs? He says here Brown versus Parker is a good domestic type of fight. It should be fun. I agree. It should be a good fight. Australia versus New Zealand. Now I'm looking forward to that. All we got to do is get those contracts signed and be ready to go. All right. Let's see. James Boone says, I agree with that. All promotions have baggage. I just can't wait for them to fight and all the speculation. You and me both, sir. Believe me, you and me both. You and me both. Peanut Crackers, what's going on, man? He says, why do people way overuse the word bum when it comes to boxing? Come on. I agree, man. The word bum gets overused a lot. And I don't like to use that word all the time. Trust me, I don't. But if it's a fighter that's really an underachiever and they have taken losses that they shouldn't have taken, then yeah, I have to call you a bum. I mean, I don't want to call out the guy's name. I mean, I would like to say his name. I like to go back to the past. A guy like Andrew Maynard, for example, he was an Olympian, gold medalist in the 1984 Olympics. He was part of that great boxing team of the Olympics. I mean, he had a lot of promise for him. I mean, let's put it this way: the guy lost fights that he was supposed to lose. Okay, he was set up to. He had a big backing behind him. There was a lot of dollars put behind him, but he just couldn't. He just couldn't prevail. I mean, his greatest win on his record is against a totally shot Matthew Saad Muhammad, and God rest his soul, Matthew Saad Muhammad. But after that win, he thought he was in a good position, Maynard, but he just couldn't capitalize after that, man. He just couldn't come through. That right there, I would probably classify as a bum fighter in a way. But yeah, like I said, man, I don't want to use the word bum all the time because I think all fighters have different styles of fighting. They all win some, they lose some. But yeah, I mean, a guy like Andrew Maynard would be somewhat yeah, he'd be classified as that. Let me see. DCB says Brown Parker is about the belt warmer. I mean, come on. I mean, look, baby. I don't know about that, brother. I don't know about that. I mean, they're both good fighters. I just think, obviously, let's put it this way: the heavyweight division, you can't move up in weight, you can't move down in weight unless you severely drain yourself to cruiserweight, which none of those fighters are going to do. They're going to have to fight each other one way or the other. Brown, Parker, whoever the winner of that fight is, whoever the WBO champion is, they're going to have to beat the other champions and the other top contenders. They're going to have to do it. And speaking of the WBO, Alexander Povetkin is fighting Christian Hammer in the final title eliminator for the WBL title. So whoever the winner of that fights will become the mandatory to Joseph Parker's title if he can hold on to it. If obviously, more likely the Brown fight is going to the Lucas Brown fight is going to be signed. So if he holds on to it, so Povetkin more likely is going to win that fight, and Povetkin would become the mandatory challenger to Brown's title. And from the looks of it, if he does win it, he more likely is going to get a call for a burst bid. And Povetkin, he has a major billionaire backing when it comes to financing. So he'll get that fight done in Russia. Let me see. Let's see. Yes, sir. Sounds better. Wing King 76. Shilzo said, I thought Brown was suspended for a positive pet test. Yeah, he was suspended. He got caught with at first he first failed the drug test after his it was early last year. He failed the drug test after his fight against Ruslan Jagayev. It was computerized, but there was a lot of his case has some bit of reasonable doubt in that situation. So because he passed a pre-drug test before the fight, then after the fight he fails. Computerized can be used to contaminate food or drinks. And his team was arguing the case that look, we passed a drug test few days before the fight, and then we failed it a few days before the fight, another few days after the fight. That makes no sense. So they were arguing their case that they could have been sabotaged, they were set up. So the WBA kind of came up to a compromising deal with Brown. So they lifted his suspension they lifted it before it actually expired, but they never gave back his WBA regular title. So it went vacant. Him and Shannon Briggs were supposed to fight for that title. And then Brown got popped again, this time with Osterine. So there was no excuses for that. And he was suspended for another 6 months, and then he came back now. So that's the whole story behind that. Let's see. Rock 89 says that people think if you don't hold the belt, that makes you a bum. Yeah, that's a good point, man. That's an excellent point. I mean, Razor Ruddock is definitely an excellent example. Yeah, that's an excellent point. David Tua is another good point. Who's another fighter that didn't hold the belt, but they were very good fighters. I mean, you go back to the 70s, Ron Lyle, Ernie Schaefer's, Oscar Benavidez, who else? Cleveland Williams. I mean, all those guys were very good fighters, but they never held the belt. I mean, the Black Murderers Row members, even though they held color titles, but they weren't world titles like Charlie Burley, the Holman Williams, the Jack Chases, the Lloyd the Burt Lydells, Lloyd Marshalls, Jimmy Bivens. I could go on and on and on. And those are very, very good fighters that didn't hold the belt. You know what I mean? Again, I can point out if you want to talk about modern times, Razor Ruddock, David Tua, in the heavyweight division, excellent examples. Very good fighters didn't hold the belt. Kurt Johnson was a pretty good fighter. He never held the belt. So yeah, there are good fighters who just that never held belts, but yet they get classified as bums because they never were world champions. Believe me, there have been world champions who got belts and they're bums. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but let's move on from here. Wayne King says, "Yeah, I get to use. Sorry, I use the word bum a lot because I watch too many Rocky movies." Hey, man, I get you. I get you. Big says that Ruddock was a bad man. Yeah, he was bad, dude, man. Tyson took his bombs, man. I thought anybody who take bombs from Ruddock like that would have gotten killed. And Tyson took it very well in those two fights they had, those wars. In fact, I'm gonna look at those two fights tonight. Peanut and Cracker says, "Yeah, I get you, but too many people use it a lot. As soon as a guy gets bested, they're a bum, tomato can, punching bag, etc." Yeah, I mean that's true. That's true. Uh, Fig says that Brown is good, if not better than Stiverne. I don't know about that one, Figs. I don't know about that one. I like Lucas, but nah, I don't know if he's better than Stiverne, man. I don't know about that. Let's see. DCB said, "Bro, keep it real. I'm not calling Parker a bum, but he's just a C-class fighter collector." Hey, man, look, I not necessarily agree with that, but hey, it's your opinion, man. I mean, like I said, I would agree though he hasn't looked good in his last few fights as a WBO champion, but I have faith in Joseph, man. He's gonna step up in competition. Like I said, the Kajani fight wasn't really a good. I mean, it wasn't a good fight, but yet that was a sparring partner. His sparring partner knew what he could do, so that was you could at least expected that outcome. Then he had the Huey Fury fight was a mandatory fight. Yes, the style of Huey Fury makes anybody look bad. In fact, the Huey Fury never got knocked out by anybody, and now he's stepping up against Lucas Brown. So Lucas Brown is a better step up. Is a step up. Though he's a better fighter than those two guys that he fought. So Joseph is he's gonna eventually step up in class, man. He's gonna step up. He's gonna fight either Wilder or Parker, one of those two guys. I mean Wilder and Joshua. He's gonna fight one of those guys. He'll be fighting Povetkin more than likely if Povetkin prevails against Christian Hammer. That would be a good fight for him. You know, Fig says that Povetkin versus Hammer is a good fight and a good test for Parker. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, Figs. I think that's a very good argument there. You guys brought up Charles Martin. Yeah, man. At first, I was high on Charles Martin, but I have to be honest with you, after that performance against Anthony Joshua, I don't know if he really tried very hard. To me, he knew he was getting a very big payday, and he was like, "Fuck it, I'd rather just lay down and just walk away with this and get my $5 million and get out of here." I think that's the mindset mentality that he had when he went to that Joshua fight. I didn't really think he was going to win it. He had no intentions of winning it, to be honest with you. So yeah. Peanut Cracker says that DCB. I say he's fighting B class fighters. Well, I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Dutch Eight, what's going on, Dutch? He says that why do we take the WBO, aka Top Rank Championship, aka HBO Championship, seriously? Eh. Well, you know what, man? Look, every promoter has a sanctioned body in their belt. I mean, look at Don King with the WBC. Floyd Mayweather with the WBC for a while with the WBA. That includes fighters as well. The WBO actually had a very good relationship with Western European fighters, especially the ones came out of Britain and the UK for many years. So I mean, it is true though, man. It is true. The top rank is they've really been holding that WBO belt in house, and they have a good relationship with that organization for a long time. So I mean, after that IBF fallout with Bob Arum had to look for another sanctions body that he could get himself cozy with. After that big scandal, we all know about that IBF scandal. Let's see. Hold on, y'all. I got technical difficulties. Hold on, y'all. Anyways, y'all, sorry about that. So let's see. Jerry Corey, very good fighter. George Follow, very good fighter. Charlie Burley. Yeah, I think I mentioned Charlie Burley. Yeah, those are three good fighters that didn't win a world title. And Charlie Burley is a Hall of Famer. So what does that tell you? Uh, in fact, Charlie Burley was a guy who beat a lot of champions and lineal champions. He never got a chance to become one. So what does that tell you about his career? And he took on a lot of dangerous fights. In fact, he even fought a heavyweight on a 3 day notice or 4 week or 4 day notice, something like that, and knocked that heavyweight out. Charlie Burley came in around 162. I think he weighed in around 162 in the heavyweight, or 166, I think, and the heavyweight was around about 219, and he knocked that guy out, or he stopped him. So yeah, Charlie Burley was a bad dude. Okay. Peanut Cracker says, any thoughts on Daniel Dubois? Too early? Yeah, you know what? It's too early right now with Daniel Dubois. Very too early for him. I definitely like what he has so far. He does have the goods. He's very good technically. But I got to see more of him. Kind of like Anthony Yard. I guess Anthony Yard is obviously a step up from Daniel Dubois, from light heavyweight, that is. Anthony Yard definitely has impressed me so far, despite the fact he has very, very limited experience. So, more from him. We need to see more from Anthony Yard. He is rated high by the WBO, so definitely there's signs of him moving up the ladder pretty soon. But I know he wants that British title, I know Frank Warren's been trying to get him to fight Frank Bellioni, but it doesn't seem like Don Charles or Bellioni is keen on taking that fight. So it is what it is. Uh, let's see. Let me see. Let me see. James Boone says that. Do you think Tyson Fury is serious about fighting Anthony Joshua and Wilder in 2018? I think so because he should fight some easier opponents first before he take it off that ring rust. Yeah, I agree. Tyson Fury's been out of the ring for 2 years and he rapidly gained too much weight. He's so out of shape. His voice has changed. So he kind of abused his body during that time off, during that layoff. So what he needs to do is get himself back in shape. He's got to lose a lot of weight. He's got to lose at least 50 pounds, if that, or 60 pounds. He's got to get back into shape. He's got to take at least two or three tune-up fights, and then he'll be in contention for Wilder and Joshua. So with that said, not 2018. I don't see that happening at all. I mean, but hey, he could pull off a Felix Trinidad because Felix Trinidad one time was around 200 pounds or something like that. Around that time when he first was coming back after a 2.5 year layoff, 40 pounds over than he usually weighed going into fights, or maybe 30 pounds over. And he was scheduled to fight Ricardo Mayor. No, at first he was scheduled to fight Shane Mosley. They were supposed to fight at 160, but there was a roadblock there that Shane had to get through first. He had to get through Winky Wright. So if Shane had prevailed, then Felix and Shane would have fought at middleweight. But since Shane lost that fight never happened. So Felix Trinidad had to look elsewhere, and he fought Ricardo Mayorga. So I'm not saying that Tyson Fury could pull off a Felix Trinidad. Maybe he could. You've been out of the ring for such a long period of time. You gain a lot of weight, but then you were able to come back down. Come back in your comeback fight. You took on a very dangerous fighter in Ricardo Mayorga, who was top of his game. A guy who was a lineal champion and unified title holder at welterweight. A dangerous guy. And people thought that Trinidad was going to get smoked in that fight. But he proved everyone wrong, right? Maybe Fury could do the same thing, but let's be realistic, though. Anthony Joshua, Ricardo Mayorga is no Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Let's be real, because we're talking about heavyweights there, actually much more skillful than Mayorga, a lot more technically better than him. you know. So yeah, DCB says that Taco was definitely a B class fighter, but I would agree with the rest. I don't know if Ruiz could get some decent. I don't know about Ruiz, but if he could get some decent wins, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty good point, DCP. Pretty good point. I think Ruiz is a B fighter himself, just like Taco. So, those are good wins for Joseph. Yes, those are close fights, but I think Joseph won them very closely. What's going on, Kiwi? What's going on, brother? What's going on, man? I gave you a shout out. Thanks for that little video upload that you did about the Brown and you and Mr. Box today, Brown and Parker almost signing a deal. So that's a good thing. Let's see here. Peter Cracker says, I've never been a Tyson Fury fan in the ring. I never was a Tyson Fury fan in the ring. Often even less outside the ring. I mean, yet I still feel sad for the guy, and I'm actually pulling for him. Long road ahead of him. Yeah, very long road, but I think he will. He'll prevail. I think he will. He says here, y'all see the latest IFL TV interview with Tyson Fury? He seems like in a good headspace. Focus on getting here. I don't know how long it's going to take. Focus can get him there, but how long will it take for him is my question. Well, that's a good question. I don't see 2018 to be honest with you, man. I think that's a long shot of a year. I think maybe late 2018 would probably be realistic, but not early 2018. That's not going to happen at all, in my opinion. Wings King says at 76 that Mayorga used a similar style as Wilder. Nah, man. I gotta disagree with you on that. I will say one thing though. Well, you know what? I would agree with you on one point on that. Wilder, just like Mayorga, does punch at very different angles, very awkward angles. They do. But Mayorga he was sometimes a bit sloppy with his technique. He kept himself extremely wide open. He never kept his hands up. He used his chin, as defense for fights, which was a dumb thing to do against a guy like Felix Trinidad. And you saw what happened to him. So when he kept getting hit by Trinidad, his punch resistance declined. He was getting knocked out in every one of his fights. So as far as Wilder's concerned, Wilder's not that sloppy. He's very good technically. He's far more athletic than Mayorga. That's the one thing I've got to say as well. So yeah, totally different fighters right there, man. No, they did not use a similar style. But the one thing I would say is that they both punched in very different, various awkward angles. I will say that though. Rock 89 says that Fury should fight Mayorga in his comeback fight. Everybody does it. Hey, you know what? Since we're talking about Ricardo Mayorga, you know, he had a fight last weekend too. People don't know that he went to Russia and fought a prospect super middleweight, and he got stopped in 7 rounds, and he looked incredibly shot. I mean, he looked shot in his previous fights in his comeback, but he looked far more shot in this fight. So, yeah, man, he needs to hang it up. He's done. Dude's too punch drunk. The guy it has the guy has so much battle scars, scar tissue on his face. He definitely looks bad. He looks in very very poor condition, and I'm surprised that he's even fighting in that state. But he definitely needs to retire. He got to do it for his family. He needs to at least speak for his, at least he can get a chance to talk to his grandkids when he grows up, gets older. So yeah, I mean, it's sad what he's become. Red Fox says, I was shocked at how Mayorga handled Forrest. Yeah, man, I was shocked about that too. I was angry about that. How Vernon lost those 2 fights, man. God rest his soul, but Mayorga did shock the world. And Mayorga is one of those guys too. When he beat Andrew Lewis, another guy that lost his life a couple years ago. God rest his soul, Andrew Six says Lewis. When he knocked out Lewis, he got into an immediate unification bout with Vernon Forrest, and he knocked him out. Surprisingly, then beat him in a rematch, and then he got to another unification bout with Corey Spinks. So Mayorga did that all in 1 year. 1 year, he could have been an undisputed champion, but he came up short. He did all that in 1 year, and I'm like, wow. I mean, unfortunately for him, after that fight, he kind of fell off psychologically. He didn't take the sport seriously. He felt that after getting robbed, he should why should I care about the sport if they're gonna rob me like that? So the referee wasn't really on his side that night. The referee was looking to deduct points from him because he wasn't like the guy, the favorite, the what's the word I'm looking for? Ideal fighter to be the undisputed champion at the welterweight division. That's how some people drew up a conspiracy about that, but I don't know, man. But he wasn't the same as psychologically as a fighter after that fight against Corey Spinks. So, Peter Cracker says, serious question. Let me see. Serious question, Dan. Is Wilder the heavyweight with the most devastating punching power since George Foreman? Oh man, I don't know, man. There's guys I could say that came after Foreman before Wilder. There's guys like David Tua. There's guys like Razor Ruddock. There's guys like who else is there? Shannon Briggs. Those guys punched tremendously hard, man. Those guys were devastating punches. At that heavyweight after Foreman and before Wilder. So I don't. I would say that Wilder's probably the most devastating puncher after those guys that I mentioned, Ruddock, Tua, and who else did I just mention? And Shannon Briggs. I will say that. And speaking of Shannon Briggs, I will go ahead and bring this up for you guys. Shannon Briggs just called out Deontay Wilder on Twitter. I'm gonna read what he said too. This is on actually on his Instagram page. I'm sorry. This is what he said. Shannon said here, quote, and he making fun of Deontay Wilder's windmill punch against Stiverne. He actually got a screenshot of it too. Let me bring it up on Shannon Briggs' page. Hold up. This is funny. This is what he said. He said here, quote, Briggs says here, it's at this point that I'll break your motherfucking job into itty bitty pieces, boy. Let's go, champ. So he just called out Deontay Wilder for a fight. So Shannon the Cannon Briggs has called out Deontay Wilder, man. He's asking for that payday, bro. And look, man, Shannon is 46 right now. He's about to be 47 next year. He's still in good shape, but dude, if he gets in the ring with Deontay Wilder, he is going to get knocked the fuck out. Excuse my language. And I like Cannon, but to me, no, man. He's looking for the payday. He's gonna get knocked out by Deontay. It's bold for him to call him out, but let's go, champ. I don't get all loud here, y'all. People think I'm crazy. But anyways, let me go back to the comment section. Uh, Red Fox says, I think Wilder has the most devastating puncher today, but I'm also looking at all his KOs. I mean, Foreman was the only guy to stop the likes of Frazier and one of the best heavyweights back then, and known to have a hell of a chin. Well, Foreman also KO'd Michael Moore, and before that, he KO'd Kid Norton. So two Hall of Famers, and those are guys he walked through in his prime, and that was something that people didn't expect. And Foreman did that you know. And yeah, so but one would argue though that Ernie Schaefer's probably is the best heavyweight puncher in history, pound for pound. I mean, because every people say that Ernie Schaefer's hit harder than George Foreman. And one time George Foreman was was asked about this in an interview with David Letterman back in the day. And he asked Dave Letterman, "Have you ever thought about fighting Ernie Schaefer's?" He's like, no, thank God I didn't fight that guy. I'm not sure if Foreman was serious about that, but he didn't seem like he was glad that he did fight Ernie Schaefer's. But let's be honest, I think George would have fought him, but it'd been a very tough fight. He probably would have got knocked out against Schaefer's. Let's be honest. But he would have to dig deep and find his soul to get through that fight like he did against Ron Lyle. So yeah. Rock 89 says, Briggs ain't passing nobody's test. I think he meet drug tests. I don't know about that. If he wants that fight, he will have to go through body. He's got to go through that random style drug test. So he'll probably get off those PEDs, man. He'll get off of it. Actually, I don't think he failed a. I don't know. He got a prescription for something. Why he failed that drug test? Was it early this year or something like that? Mid this year? He has. I don't know. Kiwi, you know something about that? But anyways, yeah, man, I'll see you later, brother. I know you catch it on archive, man. Peace out. So I don't know. Let me see. James Boone, to be fair, I think Shannon will last a few seconds longer than Stiverne. He probably would. He probably would. He probably would. But he'll definitely lose. He'll gas out in the first round because Shannon's known to gas out. But let's be honest though, Shannon would be throwing the fucking kitchen sink at Deontay Wilder early on. He will do that because he likes to do that to get his opponents out early. So that would be tough first round for Deontay Wilder, man. Very tough first round. Peanut Cracker said that Red Fox, I did not say Wilder was the most powerful than Foreman. I said they're the most fearsome puncher since Foreman. Yo, what up, Mr. Boxing today? What's going on, brother? Yeah, man. I'm just answering some heavyweight boxing talk right now, man. I'm sure you caught that interview with the boxing voice today with Wilder-Finkel-Fury and Hearn, right? Yeah. Let me see. Red Fox says that Briggs should also just fight under the WBC, live in Mexico, and just say it was a meat that should be fine with ever tested. Man, y'all got some jokes, man. Y'all got some jokes. Hey, Mr. Boxing today, Shannon Briggs just called out Deontay Wilder on his Instagram page, right? This is what he said. He said, "Look, man, it's at this point I'll break your motherfucking jaw into itty bitty pieces. Let's go, champ." Yeah, that interview was epic, bro. Something that the social media platform needed, man. It was refreshing, you know. So, anyways, what do you think about Briggs calling out Wilder, calling him and saying, "I'm gonna break your motherfucking jaw, itty bitty pieces. Let's go, champ." He's making fun of Wilder's windmill. He actually put a screenshot of it on his what you call it on his Instagram. Let's see. Let's see. Mm. Well, it is what it is. Somebody just messaged me, y'all. It's all good. Oh man, oh man. What else we gonna talk about here? Lipinets versus Broner. Adrian Broner versus Sergey Lipinets. We all know that Sergey Lipinets won his it sounds good until you get some mild cola. Hey man, you know what? Briggs is being bold, man. He's being bold. In fact, man, do you want to get on here so we can talk about that interview today? Get your thoughts on it. Let me know, man. In fact, I'm gonna fight some guys on here too since I've been at this. Get these guys on here. Let's see who's in here. Yeah, everybody's in here. Let me see what else we got. People. Whole gang up in here. And there. Let's see, Red Fox says, I'm scared to predict the Broner fight. You know what? You know what, man? Anything, it is unpredictable when it comes to AJ Broner in his fights. More likely, from what I've heard, the fight is going to be signed to deliver for March of next year for the IBF light welterweight title, 140-pound title. So if that fight is set to go, I would have to expect Broner to win that fight. And some people said, well, Mikey Garcia was able to beat Broner. He was a smaller guy. Well, first of all, Mikey Garcia is a much better technical fighter, way better technical fighter than Sergey Lipinets. Lipinets gets hit a lot. Okay, he's not very good defensively. He doesn't. I mean, even though he showed that he could move, he could parry off punches a little bit, but he gasses out, and that could play to Broner's advantage. And Broner's a bigger, stronger guy, so he'll probably be able to bully Lipinets. And the thing is, too, speaking of the Lipinets fight, many people did not agree with that decision. I didn't either when he fought Kondo. And some argue Kondo won that fight. I called it a draw. It could have gone either way. I called it a draw. But if you got it for Lipinets, cool. But ain't no way in hell he won that fight 10 rounds to 2 or 9 rounds to 3. Not even close to that. That guy struggled his ass off against Kondo. Struggled badly. And this is this same guy that said that was slaughtered Julius Onango. Please, Onango would have ripped Lipinets apart, and Crawford would have murdered him. So that's you know what's going on, Mr. Doc? What's going on, sir? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Rock 89 says, I guess I got to hear low place. Well, look, man, I don't know about that. He might not come on. But you know how it is, man. Low place trying to, if he speak that crazy stuff, I'm going to come after him. Uh, yeah, man. He ain't gonna be talking all that crazy when he get on here, man. Can't do that. But anyways, I invited the gang on here, so let's see what happens. So yeah, Lipinets definitely. Vic says that Dip Lipinets won the fight easily. He tired late, but he still landed some cleaner shots, solid jab, and good body work. Well, Figs, here's the thing. He didn't win that fight easily. Okay. He tired. He was getting hit to the body. He was getting pressured. He was had to, which forced him to fight off the back foot, which is not a bad thing. But the shots that he did land actually landed on the glove most of the time against Kondo. And sometimes that's very deceptive when it comes to scoring the fight from the ringside perspective. Okay. But the fact is that he struggled that fight. He took some shots. He was getting worn down to the body by Kondo. And Kondo's not a fast fighter. He doesn't have the hand speed, but he was in there with some good body shots. And he kept Lipinets rolling back. So it was a very close fight. It could have gone either way, but Lipinets did not win that fight easily. He did come. He did not win it, but you can say that he won it in a wide margin, in convincing fashion. No, he didn't. And the crowd booed that decision. They see what we saw. Okay, but yeah, he won the fight. That's fine. Let me see. Let me see what you say about Figs, man. What'd you say? I didn't see it. Rock 89, what'd you say? Yeah, Red Fox says on Twitter Crawford was even impressed. I mean, who wasn't? I mean, look, it was not an impressive fight. I mean, Lipinets fought an okay fight, but he wasn't totally impressive. Maybe he was nervous, or it could be the fact that, you know what, now you stepped up in competition, you're not going to get your way. Especially with guys like Lydell Rose and all that stuff. Yes, he won that fight by decision, but still, he struggled early on that fight too. So let's not get that twisted. But he came on early on and then won it. But let me see. If Fig says here in a fight you get hit, Kondo is tough and took it all, but he never did enough to win. I mean, look, that's your opinion, fine, but still, dude. But let's be honest. He did not win that fight in a convincing fashion. He struggled in that fight. He struggled. He was getting hit. He was getting hit in the body. So he was really back in most part of that fight. Like I said, I scored that fight a draw. I can see that you felt that Lipinets won it, but no more than 2 rounds and maybe 1 round if that. That's it. No way in hell he won that fight in a very convincing fashion. Let me see here. Red Fox says here that Crawford said something on Twitter like, "Let me see how this guy is. Let me see how this guy who said I dodged him is like." Well, Ross Clock, you want to get on here, bro? You want to invite? Let me know, brother. I'll give it to you right now. What's going on, man? Dude, come on, Figs. Figs, are you're not come on, you seriously? Lipinets won 8, 9 rounds. Come on, man. This the doc says Figs is undercover Sean Newton. And, and Rocky United says the same thing. Come on, Figs. You see, cool, man, but let's be rational. Okay, Mr. Doc, I'll get you guys on, man. Yeah, let me get you guys. Let me send you guys the link. There you guys go. Hop on. Yeah, Lipinets is not. Let me tell you something. Now that he stepped up in competition, I don't see him do. He's not going to have his way like he did in his first 11 opponents. The 12th one was against Lydell, or the 13th opponent who against Lydell Rhodes, and he struggled that fight. It just, I think the fight before that too, when he fought for the mandatory position, or the fight after that, I'm sorry, it was against Zizanab. I can't even pronounce his last name, but he got cut in that fight. He got hit in that fight as well, but he got the knockout. But yeah, once you step in competition, that's he's not gonna get his way, man. I don't when he fights Adrian Broner, man, Broner's gonna maul the guy. He's gonna bully him. I'm being honest. So let's see. Did you see the Neary fight? Yeah, he fought. I think Arthur Villanueva. I didn't see that fight. I know he got the knockout, but I mean, it was suspected for Luis Neary, but I know he's scheduled to. Well, he's not scheduled, but he's ordered to rematch against Shiseki not Nakamura. So is it Nakamura? Yakanama. I'm sorry. Yamanaka. Yamanaka. I'm sorry. Shizuki Yamanaka. So he's ordered to rematch him based off that the controversy over the fact that he failed the drug test before the fight, but the WBC allowed that fight to go ahead. So they wouldn't strip him. So therefore, they can only say that well, based off certain circumstances, which took them 3 months to investigate. They finally come up with a ruling last week and said that well, we're not going to strip the guy. The only thing we're going to do is we're going to order the rematch with Yamanaka. Yeah, Yamanaka more likely is going to get KO. I agree with you on that too, man. I mean, Yamanaka. I'm sure he wants to fight. He wants redemption somehow. So we'll see how it goes, man. We'll see how it goes on that. But look, ordering a rematch. I don't know, man. Look, here's the thing. If a fighter fails a drug test, they fail a drug test. Assess the proper punishment. All I know is, all I ask for the WBC is be consistent with your ruling. Don't give all these fighters the benefit of the doubt and then quickly act on another fighter when they break the rules. Just don't do that. That's my take on it, man. Who just jumped on here? Mr. Doc, it's a pleasure as always, sir. What's going on?
Hey, what up, bro? What up, bro? I would have been as usual. I had to switch some cords around to get on. Otherwise, I would have jumped on sooner. Was Rascal jumping on?
Well, he said he wants to jump on, so we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
It's not it's not a trap, Rascal. Don't worry.
He's not a trap, brother.
Yeah.
No,
you're not low place. Don't worry.
Nah, he ain't low place, but
Low place is funny though. I think low place likes to instigate. You know what I mean?
Well, he does. He does. He's instigating.
But I heard the last couple. I finally got my voice back today. That's a good thing. Because
so what do you here, man? I was like, wondering, is everything all right, man?
Some female friends convinced me to go do karaoke, right?
Right.
So I'm like, okay, And the first time it turned out, it was a good idea. But
Right.
back to back nights, getting a little old for that. Getting a little old for
Yeah.
the back to back nights. You know what I mean? You see what I mean?
Yeah, you'll get some vocal strains by doing that, man. So hey.
Oh yeah, you have no idea. Yeah. Doug said it was a couple days. It was a couple days. Holy fucking shit! Like somebody punched me in the throat or something. It's good exercise though. It really is.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not a singer, so I couldn't tell. Let's see, man.
I'm not either, actually. But I just my background is all in as far as like any kind of remotely serious setting. It's always been as a backup vocalist.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, man. I hear you, man.
But let's not get out. We'll end up way off, rambling off the road if we don't get back on track here, though.
Yeah, I hear you. It's all good. It's all good, man. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
I don't want to drive your audience off with a music theory lecture.
No, it's all good, man. Don't even worry about it, man. I'm just glad you're okay, man. I was wondering what happened to you. It's like, I haven't heard from Doc in a while, man. So I hope everything's all right.
Oh, yeah, it was all good. Just that timing, and I mean, quite frankly, I just wasn't. I pretty much knew how that fight was going to go, especially after the weigh-in.
Yeah.
So when they came to me with karaoke and I don't have to pay for the drinks, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah. Well, it was a no-brainer. I mean, I didn't expect Wilder to get him out that soon. I thought he would get him out at least at the 5th round, but not no first round. And Stiverne didn't even land a punch in that round. So it was like, okay.
He almost body slammed Arthur McKenzie Jr.
Oh, that too. It's like, dude, what the?
Yeah. Wilder did like a 360, and it looked like McKenzie looked like a little kid hanging on to him. You know what I mean? And we both laughed. I laughed, but looking back, I mean, in a way, Wilder should count himself lucky, because if McKenzie had gotten hurt there, he could have easily gotten DQ'd or no contest or any kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you, man. It was a bad knockout, man.
The way his knees folded up, I couldn't believe he didn't blow out one or both of his knees. The way he was, the way he bent backwards like that. I swear I've seen somebody get hurt that way. In fact,
back stretch so shit.
Yeah. Somebody. So I swear, not too long ago, we seen somebody get hurt falling that. So was it Glaskov when he fought Martin?
Glaskov, he tore his knee, man. That was a bad injury.
Yeah. It was kind of similar to the way he fell, I think, and it wasn't even from a punch. It was just, it was, one of those things.
Yeah, I know, man. I know that was. I know. I don't think he injured his knee. I think he's all right, man. But he was out on his feet, man. He got folded like Great Drake. Shout out to Great Drake. He was like, he folded like a chair, like a lawn chair of that damn knockout, that third knockdown, man.
Right after the first knockdown, I was like, yeah, he's done, because you could just tell by Stiverne's body language. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if he wasn't physically, because he got up, you know what I mean? He didn't look, his face wasn't busted up or anything, but psychologically, he was already defeated.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Some people are wondering why Stiverne, look, some people are gonna assume that he took a dive. I'm like, well, okay. Well, here's what I gotta say. Some people are gonna assume that. I'm not, here's the thing I would say though. I would say this though. Well, if he took a dive, then he did a damn good job of taking that dive, because I don't recall anybody taking a dive and taking those clean punches like that, taking a dive.
Yeah, I was about to say, look, if you tell me, okay, Doc, we're putting you in the DeLorean and you're gonna go, you're gonna take a dive for Ernie Shavers. You think I'm letting him hit me like that? Hell no! I want to spend that money. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you know what? It's funny though. We were talking about this too. I want to get your thoughts on that. We were talking about Schaefer's not too long ago before. Me and my commenters before you going on. One commenter, Peanut Crackers. I think it was Peanut Crackers asked this question. He said that let me see if I can bring it up. Here it is. He said, serious question, Dan. Is Deontay Wilder the heavyweight with the most devastating power, punching power since George Foreman? I think he is. And I gave my thoughts on that. And what do you think on that, man?
No.
No, okay.
With a nice big fat period next to it.
Well, wait.
Now let's not get it twisted before anybody in the chat section or where the fuck ever Taiwan flips out. I don't think I'm not going to try and put words in your mouth, Dan, but I don't think either one of us are trying to say Wilder's not a serious, puncher. He is.
No, he is a very serious puncher.
Yeah,
He's a devastating puncher. Yeah, he is.
Exactly. It's like you don't want to get hit by any of these guys. So I mean, it's not. It's almost like we're saying, 1A, 1B, 1C. If you get me, they're all punchers. They're all guys you don't want your guy getting hit by. But there are
exactly.
still, even within that realm though, there are still little differentiations of level. And Shavers, when it comes to one punch power, I've never seen anything like that shit. Never.
Yeah, it's funny though because I answered that question. I was like, you know what? No, here's the thing. Because after Foreman and before Wilder, you could argue Razor Ruddock, you could argue Shannon Briggs, you could argue David Tua. Those guys were devastating punchers. You know what I mean? Before Deontay Wilder and after George Foreman.
Yeah, people forget Briggs was knocking out tons and both, like a huge percentage of his opponents, wasn't he?
Yeah. 90% of his opponents were knockouts. He was knocking everybody out. So, in his prime, particularly in his prime. So, yeah. I don't know, but Ernie Schaefer's pound for pound is probably the best heavyweight puncher in history. George Foreman can concede to that fact, So I don't think anybody punched harder than Ernie Schaefer.
Sugar said it. Ron Lyle, who fought both, said it. Foreman said it. Ali said it. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, well, Great Drake says, I think Wilder might punch harder than Foreman. I mean, maybe. We don't know, man. But you have to look at the opposition that Foreman fought. He fought guys that were much more durable than much on better pedigree. But again, it depends. Wilder has fought some guys who were a bit durable too, like Stiverne was durable. And he knocked him out in the rematch. So
I'm sorry, Dan. Maybe, again, this might, I'll just openly wear it. This is probably, old age bias. I think Frazier beats the ever living shit out of Stiverne.
Oh yeah, I agree. I definitely.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
No, I don't disagree with you on that. I think Holyfield beat the hell out of Stiverne. Let's be real. Let me see.
Of course, as I like to point out, at least at the beginning of his career, if Joe fought today, he'd have been a cruiserweight. Yeah, that left hook at cruiserweight. Oh my God, that'd be a thing to see.
Yes. Well, Alexander Mayweather. Shout out to Alexander Mayweather. He said, "Look, Wilder, the hardest puncher since Foreman, is nonsense, man." He says nonsense. So when we forget Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis, well, you know what? Mike Tyson, yes. Mike Tyson, I forgot to mention Mike Tyson. You got a good point there, Alexander Mayweather. AM. Lennox Lewis was not known to be a knockout artist, so I don't think he was a devastating puncher. He was a boxing puncher.
In my opinion, Tyson didn't have the one punch. We're talking about one punch power. The thing with Tyson was if he caught you with anything in excess of like two or three, you were done.
Yeah. Well, he had power in both hands. You got to say that. So you can classify him as a devastating puncher. He was a devastating puncher. He was.
He just wasn't the one. He just wasn't the one shot. Friggin' nuclear blast like guys like
Wilder,
Wilder. Yeah.
Foreman, those guys. I see what you're saying on that, but Mayweather got a good point, man. He's like, dude, what about? But again, I agree with you on Tyson, man, but not Lewis. No, Lewis was not known for that. I have to disagree with you on Lennox Lewis. Larry Holmes.
Put it this way, Ernie Shavers. I hold Lennox Lewis in very high regard. Okay, and here comes the but. Prime for prime, Ernie Shavers is an extremely dangerous fight for Lennox Lewis.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Mayweather says Larry Holmes. Nah, Larry Holmes was not a one punch knockout artist, bro. Not saying he didn't put people to sleep, but he was not known for that. He was not known to be a devastating puncher.
Unless your name
Now,
was Marvis Frazier.
Martin Frazier was not even. He was not even. He was not proven, and his father put him in that fight. That too soon. Nah, that was a terrible mistake, man. Terrible mistake.
It wasn't
His
like,
career ended way too soon. They put him in there against Holmes,
and
and
then
they
they
put
put
him
him
in
in
there
with
with Tyson.
Tyson.
Tyson ended his career, man. That
Was
was
there?
bad.
Did he even get a fight in between those two? I'm trying to
Yeah,
remember.
it was first It was first the Larry Holmes fight. Then after that came Tyson.
Wow,
But
thanks for nothing, Dad.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm saying. And Blood is in the chat. What's up, Blood?
What
Blood
about boxing?
boxing. Yeah, he said Frazier would beat him, but a 30-year-old Frazier, Stiverne is old. I don't.
Can Blood jump out if he wants?
Yeah, Blood. Let me know if you want to get on, man. We'll have this discussion, man, because this is a good talk, good discussion. Uh, Alexander Mayfield. So he's going to say, are we? We're really going to say that Tyson didn't put people to sleep with one punch? Yeah, I already said that, man. I said Tyson put people to sleep with both hands. I did say that with both. What? Yeah, he
Yeah.
had
See,
power on both.
this
He
is
had
just
power on
like,
both hands.
yeah, yeah. None of the guys we're talking about. We're not saying these guys can't punch. We're just, we're finding the little, bits of separation between them.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
That's
I
all.
hear you. I hear you. Yeah, exactly. What's up, brother? He said Mayweather said, "What about Tua?" Yeah, I mentioned Tua, man. I did mention him.
Yeah,
Ray
devastating
Mercer.
punch.
Ray Mercer. Well, yeah, Ray Mercer was a hard puncher, but I think Deontay Wilder punched harder than Mercer. I
Yeah,
think he does.
Mercer was another accumulation guy. Not saying
Yeah,
he hit hard, but he was more. Yeah, it was like what's his name, Morrison is a
yeah,
perfect example. I'm saying once
yeah,
Morrison started getting pieced up with threes and fours, it was a wrap.
yeah. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I mean it's a good discussion, man. As far as Deontay Wilder being a devastating puncher, since Foreman, I would disagree. Because again, there's guys after Foreman who punch much harder than Wilder, which I have to agree with Alexander Mayweather on. So I mean, Blood, if you want to get on the chat, man, you might beg to differ on that.
I mean, heck,
So,
are we sure that he hits harder than Harry Coetzee, the Bionic Fist?
or yeah, Jerry Cooney too. I forgot to mention Jerry Cooney was a damn good puncher. He was a devastating puncher
Oh
heavyweight.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
One-handed, but that one hand, if he got
yeah,
you with it.
yeah, I forgot about Jerry Cooney, man. Yeah, I mean this is a good question, man. James Booth says here, serious question there. How injured is Wilder's hand? I mean, I heard that it's healed and all, but does anyone knows if he's still having pain? He probably is, man, but he can't really display that because I mean, let me see. Let me give you an example. Floyd Mayweather over the years had brittle hands throughout his career. He never really expressed the fact that his hands was giving him trouble till later in his career, until he started choosing his own fights.
Which fight
But
was that? Which fight? Who was that he was fighting and he had to take a knee because he punched that guy in the head, but he landed it in such a way that it hurt his hand. I'm trying to remember the
uh,
name of the guy.
that's
I
a good
mean,
question.
you know what fight I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking, which one was it? Jerry McClellan about Nigel Benn? Not that one, right?
No. It was a Floyd fight. Floyd hit one of his opponents, and he hit him like on the top of the skull or something like that, and he had to
That's
take a
a
knee.
Yeah, that hurts. Hit somebody in the skull really hurts your fucking head. I'm sorry.
I
Uh,
think it was one of the fights he had in Michigan. I want to say,
was
but
it Philip Indu? Was it that fight?
might have been. So it's somebody in the channel now. Somebody in the channel know which fight it was. But it had the point is that was when it became something that got talked about a lot. After I mean when the dude hits a guy and he's the guy that has to take a knee, yeah, there's hand problems.
Yeah. Right. I think it was a Philip Indu fight. I think that's the one you were talking about. That could have been
Okay,
that one. Because he did fight him in Michigan. So that was it. Let's
okay.
see. Yeah. Let me see. Great Drake says that Langford pound for pound is one of the hardest punches, top three for sure. Yeah, I think that's a good argument. I agree with that. You put him in there with Ernie Schaefer and Julia Jackson. Some argue Julia Jackson is the best puncher pound for pound in history. Julia
Anybody
Jackson.
that can spark out Harry Wills, all right,
Yeah.
with one punch, pretty much. Anybody that can spark out a guy like that, yeah, that's a pound for pound all time puncher. You know.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, Great Drake Great Drake actually cleared it up with us about that fight you're talking about with Mayweather. It was
Okay.
Carlos Hernandez.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Carlos Hernandez was the guy. Not he. Yeah, it wasn't Jesus Chavez. I know that. It was Carlos Hernandez. So, yeah,
Yeah, the Chavez fight, that was one of the more exciting Mayweather fights for as long as it lasted.
yeah, I know.
Chavez was crazy. He was just, you know what I mean?
Well,
It
I
was
mean,
like,
Chavez. I mean, he was a champion. He never made any successful title defenses, but the dude was just. He wasn't really a good champion to me. I don't know. I mean, he
no, I
wasn't.
know, but the way it was just like perpetual motion. You know what I mean? He just kept
Yeah,
kept throwing punches and throwing punches, and it was like, oh,
yeah,
okay. You can even at first you could see even Floyd was a little bit, not intimidated and just a little bewildered. Like, okay,
yeah.
dude, you're gonna have to stop throwing at some point, right? Right? Okay,
Right,
crap.
right.
and then he realized, okay, this is gonna be a dogfight whether I want it or not. And he did what he had to
Right.
do.
That's a good point, man. Yeah, I mean, hey, it is what it is on that one, man. You got to do what you got to do with fights. But Alexander Mayweather also says that non-heavyweight Julian Jackson is the best, most powerful puncher, pound for pound. Yeah, he is. He's universally recognized as the best pound for pound puncher in history. Julian Jackson, the Hawk. I mean, this guy can hurt you in both hands, man. He really was devastated with that right, with the left hooks. So. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyways, Mr. Doc, let me see.
Yeah,
Did you catch that interview with did you catch that interview with Wilder, Shelly Faker, Fury, and Eddie Hearn on
I heard
Boxing
about
Voice?
it. I heard about it. I heard about it on a couple of videos. The Boxing Voice interview where I guess it turned into quite the quite the interesting show because they had what Shelly Finkel, Wilder, Hearn,
Yeah,
and I think I'm forgetting somebody all at the same time, pretty much.
yeah. I
So
mean,
so
it was Tyson Fury on there too. He
Oh
came
yeah,
on
and
there
Tyson,
too.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it was,
Tyson Fury, Yeah, that was I got the gist of it, but what were some of the details that stuck out to you?
well, here's
Since I haven't really
yeah.
seen
So
it, I've just heard about it.
well, this was stuck out to me. Eddie Hearn was being a bit passive in that interview. Simple questions. He was trying to, be evasive about it as long as he can. One of the, uh, what you call it? One of the boxing voice hosts on there, co-host Inez asked him a question. I'm like, well, Eddie, I understand that certain circumstances won't allow this fight to happen sooner than we want it, but I'm only paraphrasing what he asked him. So all I'm asking is, why can't we come up with a deal? Why can't you make a deal for this fight to happen in a Andre Ward Sergey Kovalev style, where fighters will get interim fights in between and they'll meet the following year? Why not? Why can't you do it that way? And Eddie said that, well, that I don't like that way because that's a sloppy way of making the fight. And so Nez challenged him on this a little bit because Eddie said that, well, that fight will happen. I promise you it will happen. And then he said, well, if it's going to happen, how come you can't guarantee that fight then? How come you can't guarantee if it's going to happen? I think Eddie was going off to saying that, look, I'm a promoter. This is based on certain parameters. Deontay Wilder does not draw much money for that fight to happen at this point. He doesn't.
Basically, yeah. I was gonna say my read on what you were saying there, coming from Hearn, basically sounds like Hearn's way of saying, "Listen, buddy, I got the knife here, not them."
Right. Basically, that's what he's saying. Look, and I think Wilder and his team, Shelly Finkel and Wilder, understand. Look, you are the A side, quote unquote. You are the guy. Your fighter can dictate the terms. We understand that. We are willing to compromise with you, but just give us a guarantee that that fight will happen. That's all we're asking. If you set these obstacles, Hearn won't do that. That's what I don't understand. He won't do that. I just don't get it. But yet he insists that he should fight, or Wilder should fight Dillian White. He
There's
wants,
big time psychologicals going on.
yeah, and what Hearn
Big
is,
time psychologicals going on.
and, it's funny. It's funny though because the interview started off with Hearn 15 minutes by himself, and then Nez from the Boxing Voice, who's the host, brought Deontay Wilder on, and Hearn didn't really expect that to happen. I don't think he expected Wilder to get on, so they were going at it back and forth, and Hearn was like, "Look, the reason why I want you to take that fight with he didn't say that to Deontay. I'm sorry. He said this before he got on. He said, "Look, the reason why I want him to fight Dillian White because I want him to raise his profile. I want him to raise his profile. That's the reason why." And then it's like, okay, you're saying that the fight will happen next year. It's going to be 3 fights, right? The third fight is Joshua. What about the other 2 fights? What are the other 2 fights that you wanted to do? Well, Dillian White or Dominic Brazil or Luis Ortiz. In fact, Luis Ortiz, that fight may happen because Ortiz and Wilder were bad-mouthing each other after that fight. So that could happen next year, Wilder or Ortiz, and that's a fight I want to see.
Oh
So,
yeah, that's right. Ortiz showed up at the fight. That was kind of funny.
so yeah, the WBC cleared him. So more likely that fight could have to happen next year. I
So
want to see that
is
fight.
it, okay. So wait. Now is that that's official? The WBC's officially stated they've cleared him.
Well, for the looks of it, more likely they're going to clear him. They haven't removed him from the rankings. So they have met with Ortiz and his team and they came to a compromise. So it looks
So
like they're going to keep.
if
They
they if
may
they, if they clear him, will from the way the WBA worded their business are they going to keep him suspended even if the WBC clears him?
Well, for the looks of it, it looks like the WBA is going to keep him suspended. They haven't shown no signs of him being reinstated.
Only in boxing.
Yeah,
Only in boxing.
yeah, exactly. But you should know the WBA situation is very, very disturbing to me because they quick to act on him. Even though the WBC didn't quite act on him. I mean, look, it's kind of like the Povetkin situation. All the sanction bodies did the same thing to Povetkin. They acted on him before the WBC could clear it, come up with their decision with Povetkin, how they handled that situation. But for the looks of it, though, when I read that full resolution of why they suspended him, the name Anthony Joshua came up. And according to that resolution, when Luis Ortiz had signed on to fight Deontay Wilder for the WBC title before the drug test came up, Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn pushed to get Luis Ortiz dismissed as a mandatory challenger. Why? Because they said, look, if he's fighting for the WBC title, there's no reason for him to be my mandatory. That's what they were doing.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Okay. I got to put the brakes on. I got to put the brakes on. Okay. I want to say as recently as the early '90s, right?
Yeah.
And I've talked about this a couple times in the past, and I'm sure other people like Beats and them have brought this up. You can watch fights. See, and I'm not a researcher, I'm not a historian. I watch lots of fights. Okay. And
Right.
the thing about it is, I don't know, man. I don't know. I really. I mean,
Yeah. Well, here's the problem with this situation.
What are we saying here?
Yeah, it's like Hearn did say that they were going to fight Ortiz. They wanted to get the IBF mandatory out the way first, did Ortiz. You know what I mean? And then prior to that, they made previous statements that this situation with the WBA and the IBF was going to be so complicated that we may have to give up one of the belts, right?
Here's the thing. I remember
Yeah.
my point. The point is the rankings, right? I want to say I've got fights as recently as the early '90s where they'll during the fight, or right before it, they'll bring up, where the fighters are ranked, blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
You'd see fighters ranked in all of the sanctioning bodies. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even the title holders would be ranked. Even they might not be ranked number one, like if he was a WBC champ, right? WBA would have him at like number 2 or 3, that kind of crap.
Right. And here's the thing though.
My point being this, for lack of a better term, sort of segregation, self-segregation on the part of the sanctioning bodies is a recent phenomenon, or to the degree that they're doing it. It's like they're trying to become competing leagues almost.
Yeah. Right. And it was confusing. I agree with Red Fox in the comment section. He's like, look, I don't get why, because I think Anthony Joshua would have beaten Ortiz, but yet they were trying so hard to get him removed after Ortiz made a deal to fight Wilder for the title. That is a BS move. Why would you do that? And I know some are going to argue, well, Joseph Parker, when he was the IBF mandatory, he went fought for the WBO vacant title. But the difference in that situation is that the IBF told him, is like, look, if you're going to fight for that title, you cannot be ranked with us. So he voluntarily gave up his IBF status to fight for that title. As opposed to Luis Ortiz, the WBA said no, we're not, you can still keep your status and you can go fight for that title. And that's what they're, so you
Yeah,
can't really that's two different situations. You know what I mean? The WBA.
Yeah, what should have happened if there hadn't been any drugs or heart medication or blood pressure medication rather or any of that crap, right?
Yeah.
What
Right.
should have happened anyways would have been whoever won between Wilder and Ortiz should have become the number one contender. He's mandatory.
Well, here's the thing.
That's my opinion. That's how I, you know what I mean? That's what I would have wanted out of that situation anyways.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. If you become a champion, let's say if Ortiz would have beat Wilder for the title, the champions cannot become a mandatory for another champion's title. They don't get ranked in that division.
I don't see this. That's why I brought the ranking things up. You see,
Yeah.
I wish I could pin down. I wish I paid more attention so I could pin down exactly when they changed it. You know what I mean? And try and get to the heart of why. But it's it's just another one of those nuances that's really screwing things up. And maybe it's just me, but to my perception, the sanctioning bodies seem to have been doing what their best to separate themselves from each other, or isolate. There we go. That's a better word. Isolate themselves from each other more and more.
Right. And you know what? Like I said, man. Again, another.
In fact, now that you mentioned it, I've heard them even I think you said the WBO has some kind of rule where you have to drop their title if you fight for another sanctioning body's title.
Well, the WBO has that rule.
Yeah.
What are you talking about back then, or are you talking about now?
It's a recent thing. Yes, it's a recent thing. Like I said, in the '80s and in prior times, if someone was ranked by the WBC, they'd be ranked by the WBA more than likely also. And when the IBF came along, same deal.
Well, no, this is what happened in the '80s when the WBO. See, when the IBF came in, they were immediately recognized as by the other two sanctioned bodies. So those champions could fight the IBF champion. But when the WBO came in, whoever the champions from either of those three recognized sanctioned bodies, they fought the WBO champion, they will allow it under certain conditions. They said, we'll allow you to fight the WBO champion, but if you capture that belt, you got to relinquish it right away. They would not allow you to keep the WBO belt if you're the IBF, WBA, IBF, WBC champion. That's why that WBO title was vacant so many goddamn times. It was rapidly vacated. I mean,
the IBF, to my recollection, the key move the IBF made was getting Larry Holmes on board.
Right. Yeah, that's what they did.
Because he gave that belt instant legitimacy, pretty much.
Right. That's what he did. And then other fighters like Marvin Hagler got that belt, and that's how they quickly became a recognized sanctioned body.
Hence my always harping on the point: it's the fighters that make these titles and these belts, not the other way around.
Right. That's what the WBO got prestige. Like the Prince Nassim, the great English fighters like Prince Nassim, Marco Antonio Barrera had that belt. Marquez had that belt. Pacquiao had the WBO belt.
Even the European super middleweight scene. Even Eubank, Ben, Watson,
Yeah, Kawasaki.
Yep.
Abraham.
Yep.
So those guys brought prestige to the WBO title. I know the WBO is still a inferior organization by most, but Crawford held the WBO title, so he put a lot of legitimacy to it as well. So all these fighters have. I mean, you like it or not, we could criticize the WBO, but they are they are a major sanctioned body. And a lot of great fighters and good fighters have worn that belt.
And just to sort of reinforce our point here, and people won't you've alluded to this yourself, and people don't like to hear it, but it's the truth. Hypothetically speaking, right?
Right.
Whoever, we'll just say Joshua wins when him and Wilder fight, right?
Right.
And he goes around, making a point to carry that IBO belt and beats up, Ortiz and Brazil and Gonu and you know what I mean, all these guys with names.
Right.
Whether we like it or not, that belt will eventually gain prestige.
Well, it is. We're talking about the IBO. It's funny though because the IBO more likely is going to get that prestige. It's going to get that that recognition by maybe about another few years. That's the way I see it. I think that's what's going to happen. And speaking of that, yeah, it's funny though because Anthony Joshua in his post-fight interview with Carlos Taco after the Carlos Taco fight, he said that I'm going to be meet my mandatory obligations that includes the IBO. I'm like, what? Are you serious? And so he said, I'm going to meet my IBO. My IBO. I'm like, okay, all right. So basically, I haven't got a chance to look at the rankings, but I'm gonna look at it right now, see who's the number one guy.
I was just about to say, yeah, we got to look at that right now and see what it is. I'm curious now.
Well, Alexander Povetkin is ranked number 1. Kubrat Pulev number 2. Luis Ortiz number 3. Tony Bellew number 4. Christian Hammer number 5.
All right. Out of those top 4, which one do we think is most likely?
Well, more likely Pulev, but Pulev don't want the fight, so let's scratch him out.
No, I'm not saying what we'd want to see. I'm saying what do we think the move Fast Eddie Hearn is going to make? Because I think I know which guy out of those first 4.
Well, Tony Bellew.
It's going to be Tony Bellew. If he beats it, like Charlie Brown, I agree with Charlie Brown 100%. If he beats David Haye again, there's no getting around that fight. There's no getting around it because there's just. I mean, I have to be honest. Even though I don't want to see it, I have to admit, if I was Eddie Hearn, I'd do it too. I mean, there's no way any promoter in their right mind is going to pass up on that easy money.
Well, let's be honest though, because he did say mandatory, so it's not a voluntary. So he more likely Povetkin is a mandatory of the IPO. So I don't think people really would mind about seeing that fight. As Red
that's a good point because theirs is all computerized, so maybe they do because you know how sometimes sanctioning bodies they don't always pick the number 1 contender to be the mandatory.
Right. That's a good point. And let me see the IBO champions. I'm looking at the IBO rankings right now. Light heavyweight, you got Igor Malagin. Kovalev is the mandatory for that title. Badu Jack is number 2. Lady Alvarez number 3. Silver Barrera number 4. I'm just curious at the IBO's ranking systems right now.
It's computerized is what people. That's the thing people like about it. It's still a human made algorithm, but at least it's automated, basically. You know.
Right. Callum Smith by the super middleweights is the mandatory challenger. That'd be a good fight between Callum Smith and Eubank. Super middleweight, the middleweight.
Yes.
Middleweight, you got Canelo Alvarez is the mandatory. There's no champion. Or Golovkin is the champion. My bad. So Alvarez is the mandatory to the IPO title. All right. Let me see here. Let me see what else we got here. Super welterweight, which is light middleweight. Lara is the champ, and his mandatory is let me see. Masi Solaki. I've never heard of him. I never heard of Solaki.
That'll be his next fight. You can book that. Lara's one of my dudes, but I can't really defend the. Since the cutoff point for me was the rematch with Martirosyan. That was a good fight.
Yeah,
and since then it's been like, oh, come on, man. Come on, man.
Well, the IBO, Lawrence needs to start fighting some better opponents. I got on his ass after that Gasha fight. I was like, man, no more of these overmatched opponents. No more of these Delvin Rodriguez.
The problem, the mistake he made was fighting Gausha. It's about context. If he'd fought Gausha, like, right after the Martirosyan fight, right?
Yeah.
I think that would have been perfectly fine. But after when you fight him after Rise from Your Grave, Foreman, and friggin' what's his name? Yeah, then it doesn't. It's not. You see what I mean? Then it becomes kind of a bad look.
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, look, some people argue that those fighters that he fought were either, aside from the Gasha fight, they were either current world champions or were former world champions. I get that. But still, overmatched and over the hill guys like Yuri Corbin hasn't fought in 2-3 years or 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think Gausha beats both of those guys. I think he was way better than those guys. It's just that You know what I mean? He's way better than those guys, but not nearly as good as Lara.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm gonna look at this IBO real quick. They actually got some pretty good ranking systems. Their ranking system is pretty good. I mean, Manny Pacquiao. There's no champion at welterweight for the IBO, so Manny Pacquiao is a mandatory challenger. Danny Garcia is number 2. So hey, they can order a fight between Manny Pacquiao and Danny Garcia if they get to that point.
That also much like when you mentioned Blue ranked 4th at heavyweight, because I'm telling you, Eddie Hearn is looking for any excuse he can get away with to make that fight happen, because he'll make a heap load of money, because that's you know what I mean, just because it's the UK and that's how the fans there roll. You know,
what fight are you talking about?
AJ versus Blue.
Bellew, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be IBO voluntary defense. I mean, if they allow it.
That's what I'm getting at is I think that's the reason the IBO thing got brought up, is because, trust me, Eddie Hearn's been wanting to try and get either David Haye or Bellew in the ring with AJ. You know what I mean? But he's got to have an excuse. He can't just, you know what I mean?
Well, what they're trying to do is legitimize that IBO belt.
Yes. They're trying to legitimize the next fight that's going to be fought for over it. More importantly, Eddie Hearn's mind, see, because come on, man, we all know how Bellew versus Joshua ends. You know,
Bellew.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't think Bellew really wants that fight. You know, to be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, he's more keen on.
When I think when he sees the figures Eddie Hearn, offers to him, he'll start reconsidering.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just my opinion, and just kind of speculation. There we go. That's my personal speculation on my part.
Yeah, that's a good point. So if you look at the lightweight division, they don't have one I like.
What stuck off on that was because you mentioned Danny Garcia and who?
Manny Pacquiao. There's no champion for the IBO there at welterweight, but they're number 1, number 2.
Danny Garcia versus Pacquiao. Them two fighting would make their actions of late make sense, if you get what I'm saying.
Right.
That
pursuing the IBO to make that fight.
Well, I mean, it would make sense. It would make sense in hindsight that Manny's not really pushing after the Horn rematch, and Danny's not really pushing after the Thurman rematch or Porter fight, right? Because the Pacquiao fight's way bigger for Garcia, at least. I think. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point.
In terms of, you know what I mean, he's going to make way more money fighting Pacquiao, I'd think.
Yeah, he would. Definitely. Yeah, I mentioned Terry Flanagan for a second. Terry Flanagan is moving up to 140 pounds. I wonder why he's doing that. Some people are...
The guy that barely got past friggin', what's his name, Petro?
Yeah, man. I mean, some argue that Flanagan is voiding what's his name, Linares. That's why he's doing what he's doing. I don't know. It's a possibility, or that since Crawford vacated his title, he's going for that WBO title, because I heard the WBO made him one of the top mandatory challengers.
All I know is if he's struggling like that with a guy like Petro, what's he gonna do at 140 against guys like Barthélemy? He ain't gonna beat no Barthélemy.
Yeah, he ain't beating Barthélemy. Yeah, I know. He ain't or Amir Ahman. He might not even beat him, because I know Ahman suffered that loss to Granados, but still though, Ahman's still a good fighter.
Yeah, he is. I'd like to. I hope I do worry though about the inactivity. You know what I mean?
Well, now the Crawford's out the list. Yeah,
him and Antoine Douglas both. You know what I mean? I think they fought like once since they've both got those brutal knockouts or stoppages, whichever way you want to look at it.
I agree. Yeah, let me get Mr. Boxing Today on here, man.
All right.
Yeah, he's gonna come on. Yeah. Yeah, man. So here's the thing, though. Yeah, I mean, Ahman. The IBO got some good rankings, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. These ranking systems look better than the WBO. Their ranking system looking a lot better. I agree with Fred Fox on this one, man.
It's because you can't. The one thing about the computer is this, right? There could be they could screw with it when they're making the algorithms, but unfortunately, computers do not accept envelopes filled with paper.
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet. Anyways. Not yet. Anyways.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Give us time. I'm sure we'll invent some. But at the moment.
Yeah. DCB says WBL. Dre says WBL is not a real organization. I hear you, Doug. I know we all have our sentiments about the WBO.
The World Bob Arum Association
organization. That's a Bob Arum's organization, in-house or organization. The top ranked belt, you want to call it?
there you go. The top, it's a top ranked title, basically.
Yeah, but hey, you know what, DCB? We were talking about that just a second ago, man. If you look at the IBO ranking system, you would be surprised how they rank it, how they got their fighters ranked, man.
Compared to the other bodies, it is pretty solid. But you know what I mean? There's a couple eyebrow raisers here and there, but not nearly like what we get with the WBC and the WBA in particular, and the WBO.
IBF rankings, theirs is bad. I think theirs is worse than the WBO. I'm gonna be honest with you. The IBF.
The impression I've always got is the IBF's thing is to try and give, I don't want to say bottom feeders, but the fringe guys, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? The guys that don't have the name, don't have the backing, etc.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes they find diamonds in the rough, like in Dongo.
Yeah, they do. That's true. I mean, obviously, Dongo was like top 15, and then the previous champion at the time was Trianovsky. Of course, he cherry picked him because they didn't know nothing about the guy. It's like, okay, let's take a voluntary defense.
Hey, the guy Trianovsky beat. I remember I used to call him the Argentinian TBE. Well, Cuenca.
Cesar Cayenca. Yeah,
because he had like 40. He was like 40 something or no, but he was like 40 something or no with 2 knockouts.
He was 48 no.
Yeah, he was like 1 fight. He just needed that 1 win, man.
Yeah. Hey, Red Fox had brought up a good point about the IBO because in middleweight they got Canelo Alvarez rated number 1, and they got Jermell Charlo number 2. So the IBO could probably mandate that fight between Charlo and Canelo. That could happen. So we'll see. Whoever wins that fight becomes the IBO mandatory.
Okay, I got a question because I know the whole situation with fishnets and how much say he has over what Golovkin does from here until the Canelo fight is very convoluted.
Yeah.
If Canelo fights someone else, does that free Golovkin from that part of that piece of the contractual obligation? If you get me.
Nope.
So Canelo could go out and fight like 5 times, and fishnets can tell Golovkin you got to stay sitting down at home. Is what you're saying?
Because he has a rematch clause. He can invoke it anytime he wants to. Plus,
tell me, boy, how you going to explain this? I got to invoke the coach on that.
He could tell Canelo, he's like, he could tell Golovkin, look, here's what's going to happen. You're going to fight me at this date. You're not allowed to take any other inner fights in between that time. That's what they got him the first time with the Saunders situation. They say, look, because Golovkin wanted to get that Saunders unification bout. He was like, look, I want to fight Saunders for unification, but I'll fight you as long as I can get that unification. He said no. And Oscar said, no, if you take that fight, you can kiss the fight with my guy goodbye. And that's what happened.
I just want to say that was the biggest mistake of Golovkin's career, not calling fishnets bluff, in my humble opinion. What up, Mr. Boxing Today?
What's the deal, fellas? What's the deal?
What's happening, dog? What's happening, brother? What's going on?
Man, that was an epic interview today, man. Epic on the Boxing Voice.
Oh, man. That was a damn good interview. That's something that's refreshing, dude, to hear that and see that, man. That's something that's totally caught people off guard, man, to see that happen.
Let me give Hearn just an inkling of credit, man, because he didn't run away from the interview. A few times here, I thought he might going to hang up on Ness, but Ness kept it professional, and he was on his neck at the same time. And when he brought in Wilder, that shit, man, that was lovely right there, because a lot of the shit he was saying, I was sitting there, as I'm listening to it, I'm sitting there thinking like, dude, if Wilder or his team was on the phone, they would rebuttal all this shit. And it was like a dream, bro. It was like, next thing you know, Ness is in the, because I was in the chat section. I seen Blood Boxing in there too. And as he's talking to Hearn, he was letting everybody know in the chat section that he has Wilder on the line. So I'm like, oh shit, this right here gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I was surprised too when I heard that. I was like, "What the fuck? You got Deontay Wilder on the line, bro?" I was like, "Oh damn!" I thought Hearn was going to hang up, like you said, man. And the thing is too, I give Eddie. That's one thing I have to say. I agree with you on this. I give Eddie Hearn credit for staying online because all the questions he was getting, man, I'm sure anybody would have got off the phone. But to look at it, dude, he was being very evasive. He got very annoyed by the line of questioning that was brought to him. You know what I mean? I know he gets
Yeah,
tired hearing, we want to see the fight. We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. But Eddie, you have to understand. The problem is that you're not guaranteeing us that fight's going to happen. You said that yourself. You said it's going to happen, but you're saying you're not going to guarantee it. So we want to know where's your actual stance on this? Do you want the fight happen or not? That's what's going
yeah,
on here. And another thing too, one of Inez's co-hosts asked her this question. It's like, okay, we understand based off certain circumstances, this fight cannot happen immediately. We understand that. But why is it so difficult to draft a deal like the Andre Ward Sergey Kovalev situation where both fighters will agree to fight each other, they'll get two inter fights in between, and they'll meet the following year or following date. Why can't you do it that way? And Aaron was like, well, that's just a sloppy way of making things, doing business.
Translation: he doesn't want to have to pay for the options on the fighters in case something goes, wrong with one or both of the fights.
Right. He probably
Yes,
doesn't want to risk AJ going into that situation because he could possibly lose. That's
well,
probably that.
it's not just that. Any promoter worth his salt makes sure he has a stake in both. Oh, like if we have a 4-fighter fight off, right, and the winners are going to
Right.
fight each other. The promoters
Right.
involved are going to make sure they got their hands in the pockets of all the fighters involved, so that no matter who wins, the promoters win. You get me?
Right. I see
yeah.
what you're saying. I don't see what
And
you're saying. But
I don't know if I'd call it sloppy, but that does entail more money, more paperwork, etc., than just setting up, you know what I mean, a straightforward fight.
right. I mean, I just don't. I just don't understand why is it so complicated to do that. I mean, Ward Kovalev did it a year
Oh,
ago.
I'm not. I didn't say that to defend him. I'm just saying. I think that's what I'm trying to interpret what he's getting at. You see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I know
Nah,
you're trying to look at it from a different angle, from a different perspective. I get it, but to
it's
me, he
just
can. Go ahead. Go
hey,
ahead.
it's just complicated when it's involving Wilder. Everything else that Eddie Hearn has done is, at least from my point of view, from the outside looking in, seems like there's never been no complication. No complications making Gary Cornish, Gillian White, Charles
Right.
Martin, Dominic
Right.
Brazil, Lena. I mean, they even had Takam on standby for 9 weeks, right? No
That's a good point.
complications
Yeah.
until it gets to Wilder.
Right. That's a good point, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
like I said, I wasn't saying that to, you know what I mean, say that I agree with Hearn. I'm just, trying to translate his
Right.
bullshit into English.
yeah, I mean, look, to me, he was giving too many vague answers, man. I like Eddie Hearn. This is not to bash him, but if you got anybody with rational sense can see that this guy was giving a lot of vague answers. He wasn't trying to answer the question straightforward. He was going after Deontay Wilder's record, which is, I mean, that was obvious move that he was going to do. And he was also going to compare and contrast what Anthony Joshua did in a short amount of fights in a short pro career versus what Wilder did in his 19th or 18th pro fight. No,
He
Yeah,
called the man
that's
a baby.
yeah.
Hey, he called the man a baby. And then he said, no, that's not the right word. I'm listening like you damn right it's not the right word. The dude's a unified champion. You up here saying he's a baby, mate. And I was like, man, would you knock it off with this
I've heard.
BS, man, and just make the fight? Man, what do you mean this dude's a baby? This dude was
yeah,
damn near 30 years old.
To be
I
fair,
mean,
that did used to be pretty common vernacular. I'm not saying anybody's wrong to be offended. I'm just
yeah,
right.
you know what I mean. It
I
used
know
to be. It was a term that got used all the time, like in like when I were the 70s and 80s and all that.
I know how he's using it. He means that a guy that doesn't have that many fights, he still wants to gain some experience. And I
Yeah,
understand
that's
the
all.
way he's using it. But what I'm saying is he's a unified champion. Training wheels got to come off. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
agree. I
so,
mean,
Yep.
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, look, I like to always use history as one of my precursors, as you want to call it. I mean, look, Evander Holyfield became a unified champion at in his 15th pro fight, 14th pro fight, when he knocked out Ricky Parquet at cruiserweight for unified cruiserweight titles. Yeah, I mean,
yep.
he did that. And then in his 18th pro fight, he became the undisputed champion when he beat Carlos De Leon for the title, and captured the lineal title. So Evander Holyfield did all that in less than 20 pro fights. So and that was a very short. He had that's like within 3 years as a pro. He did that 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
So I mean, Evander Holyfield could do it. Mike Tyson did it in his two and a half years as a pro. I mean,
And Mike Tyson was damn near a sophomore in college, the age of a sophomore in college when he did all this. So if you want to talk about baby, that's more of a baby. He was 20 years old, 21 years old.
He couldn't. Yeah, he couldn't. What do you call it? He couldn't drink. Yeah, he couldn't drink yet. 21.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, this is what. Yeah, I agree with you on this boxing today, man. It's like, dude, we understand that I understand Anthony Joshua is a novice to some level, to some degree, but the fact is, he is a heavyweight champion. He is recognized as the #1 heavyweight in the world right now. So there is no more training steps. You got 2 belts now. You knock off an all-time great. You can't use that excuse anymore. It's done. Even after you got that title over Charles Martin, you got a couple of voluntary defenses to get some experience. Great. Then you went in there against an all-time great. Tough fight, damn good fight. You knocked him out. You stopped him and beat him. Yeah, that's done, man. We can't use that angle anymore. Evander Holyfield couldn't use that angle after that time when he picked up a world title in his 12th pro fight. Oscar De La Hoya couldn't use that angle when he picked up his first world title against what was it, against John Molina, or who did he fight? Or was it Jorge Paez? It was one of those two. But anyways, you get what it was actually another guy before those. But anyways, Fernando Vargas picked up a world title in the 16 pro fight, a fight that people thought he couldn't win. And he was a pro in 1 year. People don't know that. Fernando Vargas captured his world title in his first year as a pro. He did that. Yeah, I mean, Vasily Lomachenko, Jeff Phoenix, Ricardo Mayorga, I'll get to him in a second. It's like all these guys did things in a rapid time span. I mean, look, I understand not every champion can do what they did, but at the same time, there are standards that have to be set when you become a champion. Look, I'm not saying you're not going to get one-off fights against some, lower tier competition as a champion. I get that. Every champion has done it, but at the same time, they have to understand that the standards are set for them. They gotta mix it up. You see what I'm saying? They gotta mix it up where you.
How many fights in was Corey Spinks when he beat Mayorga?
He was in his 30. He was like in his 35th or 34th pro fight.
Okay, because I remember he didn't. I remember he had like a real small number of amateur fights. I was curious how.
That's probably why. Yeah, he crammed in a lot of pro fights. But it's funny though, when he beat Michelle Petriello, I think that some people thought that was a controversial win. He went to Italy and captured the IBF title. When he won that title, he got into an immediate unification fight with Ricardo Mayorga for the undisputed title. So he already went in the second championship fight. He went in there in the undisputed championship match. Mayorga.
That was like Don King. Like that was the theme of the pay-per-view, if I remember right.
Yeah.
It was unifications and undisputeds.
Right, and some people have argued with me about this. I'm not going to talk about Mr. Doc, the guy. I don't want to mention him. Yeah, and, he made this argument about other champions don't have to do that. But I get that, but from my standard, from my perspective, I've seen guys who actually did it. So why can't I set the same standard for that?
Here's the thing. I'll cut to the car crash because that's what I like to do. Right. What certain individuals don't fucking get is there's a big fucking difference between what we should expect and what we have the right to want.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. History does set precedents. History does teach us to manage our expectations. Right. But that is completely separate, a whole different fucking matter from what we want. Do these idiots think that after the first Leonard Hearns fight, we all sat there and were like, oh, we better just, stay quiet and hope they fight again? No! We were angry. That's like one of the few times I can remember back then, right? Everybody that was boxing fans I know being angry that it took so fucking long to get them two back in the ring.
Right, that's true.
Okay, did we get it? Did we get it when we wanted it? No, but guess what? We wanted it. All right, you get what I'm saying? We have the right to want, as long as we manage the expectation side of it. It's when we start expecting, when we expect and go a little too far with the demand end of things that, then yeah, it starts to jump the rails. But we're fans. I have the right to want what I want. You know what I mean? I want undisputeds. I want fucking, you know what I mean? I want fights where I don't know who's going to win for sure every time. But
Right,
we all got wants. We have the right. We have the right to want those things as long as we don't get so far down, so far out the window, so to say, that we're expecting what we want. You get me?
Yeah, I hear you, brother. But hey, Charlie Brown is in the chat. What's going on,
what up,
Charlie
Charlie
Brown?
Brown? Sorry about that.
What's up, Danda, man? What's up, Mr. Doc? What's up, Mr. Boxing today?
What's up?
You know what I mean? Hey, what's up, man? And I haven't seen this interview or anything. The only thing I woke up literally to the prospect of.
Same here. Same here.
I was watching your channel, Mr. Boxing, today. I saw you had the video with what's his name, Lucas Brown, calling out Joseph Parker. That's now I got my own thoughts and feelings on that fight as well, but I'd rather see Wilder and Parker or Joshua and Parker if Parker's gonna fight anybody next. You know what I mean? I'd like to see some kind of unification or lineal unification or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I like Lucas Brown. I mean, I was talking about the prospect of this a long time ago when Lucas Brown needed a fight, and he was talking about fighting Dillian White. But I'm a bit, is he going to be clean? I mean, I shouldn't say that, but is he really going to be clean? Is he going to be, I mean, I know it's a good fight for Australia and that neck of the woods, but it just seems like a cash out to me. He's just trying to cash out for this one last time. What does the fight prove, if anything? Is it going to be competitive? Joseph Parker is just going to claw his way through that. And is it going to help Joseph Parker's case as cementing himself as one of the best heavyweights in the world? No, the points you guys were just making about holding champions to high standards, I agree with that, man. I mean, Joseph Parker right now is older than Mike Tyson, like you said, Mr. Boxing, today when he unified the division. So I think he's like a year or 2 years older than Tyson was. So there's no excuses for either of them, Joshua or Parker, man. We've got to see these unification fights. These are the only fights out there, and we don't know. I mean, to be quite honest, everybody else is either been failed drugs tests or there's some other problems outside the ring. So while the guys are healthy and clean and everything else, they should be fighting each other, man. So I want to see. I haven't seen this interview that you guys are talking about, but I want to not yet, but I will see it. But I definitely want to see Wilder and Joshua next. If we could do that in summer, that would be good as well, man.
Yeah.
I don't care where it is. I don't even really want it over here, to tell you the truth, man. I don't think that makes any bit of difference at all. If that fight could happen in Vegas.
Okay. It'll fill up Vegas because Vegas doesn't have that many seats. There's no way. I mean, well, when you say that, Charlie Brown, what do you mean? Because I mean,
casinos. I mean, look at the casino. No. Think about it, right? Think about the money thing, because people. Okay, yes, you get a live gate from Wembley, right? 85.
And just because you just made me think of something. When you say money, are you talking about? You sound like you're maybe talking about big picture money, like
Yeah, because they want that big.
Not just for promoters, but everybody that's involved. You know what I mean, so to speak.
Like, so everybody's pockets are fat. So the fight should go ahead. If it should really go ahead in Vegas, you know what I mean? That those casinos and what Vegas generates on the weekend, they get a cut of that. So, it's in Anthony Joshua's best interest to try and make that fight in Vegas, if anything. In America, if he can, you know what I mean, to raise his profile as well. No, wait a second. I know what everyone's gonna say, but like this whole thing, I'm starting to get a bit sick and tired. I'm from the UK, but I'm getting sick and tired of the whole, it has to be over here in the UK. Okay, look, we know how to fill a football stadium, right? Because what Eddie Hearn's done is he's managed to turn like the football fraternity into boxing fans, into casual boxing fans. Does that make sense? So when it comes to when all they have to do is say Anthony Joshua now, and people come flocking because he's a household name, right? He's kind of like Frank Bruno, kind of, if that makes sense,
Right.
in that kind of sense, right? So he's loved, and that will happen. But for me personally, man, I'm not really, as a fight fan, I want to see it in America. I want to see it in the States. I want to see them both generate a lot of money. And it just needs to be there. We haven't had a good fight since the Mayweather days. We haven't really had good fights in Vegas recently. Well, we have, but nothing of that magnitude.
The problem to me, even if you're setting aside the money, which really is, I'm not one of these idiots that lives in denial, like, and tries to pretend like business isn't a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, same. Yeah.
I just acknowledge it, and for as much as I can, keep it moving, because it's not the most interesting part to me. That's all. Right?
Yeah, same as me. Yeah. Same as. I'm like you, but but sometimes I sit there, I find myself getting annoyed, and then I have to remember, oh shit, yeah, there's the business aspect to it. So,
but even setting aside the money, the thing, I don't like to use the turn phrase has to happen in England, right? That's obvious. That's going a little overboard. But the reason as a fan, I would prefer it there, because to me, there's no comparing the atmosphere. Even coming across,
I know that.
Well,
I hear.
Let me just say
that. As a fan, that atmosphere, to me anyways, it's a big friggin' deal. Like the atmosphere when he fought Vlad, holy shit.
Well, the thing is, that
was like some friggin' like at least 20-plus-year-old vintage. You know what I'm trying to say? Sitting in the cellars type stuff.
That's the thing. That's why I'm happy. Sorry, go on.
No, let me just to put the final note on that. There's no way you get that over here, in my humble opinion.
Well, I know that.
Go ahead.
Let me just say this. Let me just say this. Mr. Box today might want to get in on this too. Let me just say this. I don't care where the fight happens, it happens.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk about revenue, I'm going to be very honest with you. Vegas will be the perfect place for it. And let me tell you why. Forget the illusion about it being a stadium arena. I get that. You're going to make money at the gate. But not only they can make money at the gate by packing out a 17,000-seat arena, you have to understand there's a lot of people that gamble. They put in a lot of bookies. There's a lot of tourists that comes around during the times of those fights. There's a lot of restaurants. There's a lot of different revenue streams that could take place over there in Vegas during that fight. Okay, Eddie Hearn can make money off of that. So
I was just about to say, promoters find a way to dip their fingers in all of it.
Right, exactly. There's a lot of different revenue streams that could be made over there in Vegas to showcase this fight. Now, the stadium fights, yes, you definitely get your guaranteed revenue at the gate if you sell out 80,000. But if you're looking for a bigger, you have to understand the gate revenue is not the biggest chunk of money that you make there.
That's right.
There's a different revenue streams, and Vegas has those factors there for that. So, to me, I don't care.
Because I as an American, I do tend to forget that just how much more viable pay-per-view is still over there compared to here.
Right. I mean, look, I don't care if it's on pay-per-view. I don't care if it's on Showtime, HBO. I don't care. Just give me the fight, man. That's all I care about.
That's right. While they're in their primes as well, while they're fresh, man, and unbeaten. Yeah, let's not wait till they both got losses and they're both, busted up. Let's wait. Let's wait.
Yeah, I'm like,
let's get it now.
That would be if there's you put two buttons in front of me and I get to make the choice. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer,
Hey, but let me ask you this. During that interview, I know you want to listen to it, Charlie Brown, but let me just give you a little snippet of it.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to play it here, but Mr. Box today brought this up. In that interview, and I caught some of this too, Eddie Hearn said that, I don't know why people are kind of like, and Joshua, trying to get on Joshua's back. He's still a baby. He's still got, things. That's what he said. He's still a baby. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, man?
No, I don't buy that at all, man. I mean, Eddie's running out of excuses, man. And Eddie's a good guy, man. Eddie, you know what I mean? At heart, he is a good guy, you know what I mean? Off camera, the power, he's gone on a bit of a power trip this year. We know that. And, you know, he's have to come back down to earth. I just think, you know, the excuses, running out of excuses for Anthony Joshua now. Anthony Joshua is 28 years old. He's got 2 lineal titles. Like Mr. Boxing Today was saying, Mike Tyson was 20 years old when he beat Trevor Berbick. By the time he was 22, he'd unified the division. You know what I mean? Joseph Parker is 25 years old. You know what I mean? Going to be 26. These guys, both of them, but especially Joshua, there's none of this, oh, you're a baby. No way.
Foreman wasn't a baby either. Foreman was, he was like 22, 23.
It's the thing. Anybody who's part of the Olympic program, I don't care whether they win a medal or not, anybody who's been part of that Olympic program doesn't deserve to make those excuses because they're catapulted into the limelight. They have a big engine behind them, sponsorships, all the rest of it. For whatever country they're from, if you're part of the elite as an amateur and you go pro, you can't be making that excuse. I could understand if he came off the streets of Brixton and he would, you know what I mean, no promoter, no sponsor behind him, and he was just saying, well, boy, I'm a baby, man, I need to learn. I can understand that. I can understand that, should I say, but I just, no, he can't make excuses anymore. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to go about it, but it all seems to me like next year, it's going to be another mandatory year. Okay, it's going to be Wilder in Brazil. It's going to be Parker and Browne. It's going to be Joshua and somebody else. You know what I mean? It just seems like it's going to be another one of those years. You know what I mean? We're just not going to get this fight, I don't think. And I was hot on it, but after the stuff I've heard, even a couple of weeks ago, and the performance against Carlos Takam, at no point are they going to want Wilder straight away.
Right. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, too, I wanted to mention Evander Holyfield became undisputed champion at the age of 24 at the cruiserweight.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
he did that. He unified all 3 belts before in the lineal championship before his 18th pro fight. So he did that before less than 20 pro fights. I wanted to add that. But I lost my train. I was going to ask. I was going to ask. Oh yeah, Luis Ortiz. So it looks like the WBC has going to go ahead and clear him. And Luis Ortiz and Deontay Wilder is rumored to have a fight next year in March. That's the rumor I heard. So what do you guys think about that?
I think Mr. Boxing Today's been trying to talk, but I think he might have the mute glitch. There he is.
The fight, I mean, first, let me just answer this question. You guys were talking about it earlier about if the fight between Joshua and Wilder should be in the UK. To me, man, it really doesn't matter to me. We have 2 different type of atmospheres, and I understand the fans that love that, especially when you're watching on TV, just the atmosphere of the, 90,000 people and everybody singing Sweet Caroline and unison.
It's a flashback type thing, you understand.
Cool, but over here, we don't sing Sweet Caroline in unison and we just don't do that. But if you show us something in the ring, we're going to cheer. Look at the Barclays when Wilder was putting lumps on Stiverne's head. The whole crowd was going crazy. You know what I mean? Right. So whether it's here or the UK, really don't matter to me. I like Vegas, I like Barclays. It really don't matter. As far as Ortiz, I've always said, man, when it comes to Povetkin and Ortiz, I know some fans going to disagree with me, and that's fine. I would rather see them get knocked off in the ring than get knocked off outside the ring.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so long as he gets, sign his paperwork, whatever it was the first time, I don't even want to go deep into it. Get it right, get in the ring. So when this era moves on from 5-6 years now, I don't hear nobody saying, well, Parker was the man, but he didn't fight Ortiz or Povetkin, or Wilder was the man, or AJ was the man, but Povetkin and Ortiz didn't get their shot. I want everybody to get their shot, or at least be in an eliminator type of fight to, get a chance to get their shot. I want everybody involved in this.
Well, hey, you know what? It's funny you bring that up, brother, because I think you may have commented about this or you haven't. Recently in that WBA, the WBA suspended Luis Ortiz for 1 year, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
In their final resolution, the name Anthony Joshua came up in that resolution. It said there, I'm going to say this from paraphrasing. Anthony Joshua's team objected to Luis Ortiz staying as a
That's right.
mandatory because Ortiz was signing to fight Wilder for the WBC title. This is before the drug test situation came about. So Hearn and Joshua were trying to get, they moved to get Ortiz out of the way as a mandatory. Now, do you think they were right for doing that? Trying to do that?
Well, yeah, because in the sense of this, let's say that the Wilder fight did happen. I would want to see, let's say Wilder went in there and blasted out Ortiz. We'll be kind of sitting here like, damn, so we're about to see Ortiz fight Joshua now. He should at least have to get in the back of the line. I don't like him that much. You know what I mean? Not to see him lose back to back, especially if he got blown out and see him in another title shot, at least win a fight and then come in on a winning streak. But as far as Ortiz being suspended, my question is, who are they going to elevate to the mandatory? Because the last I checked, Ustinov and Charles getting ready to fight. And then you got Fred Zakenda, who's been sitting there out for years. He's still at, number 3 in the rankings?
Yep.
So, if it's not Ortiz, who the hell is going to be? And is this somebody so important to where we want to see that fight next?
We see, yeah, that's an interesting point as well. I mean, and the other thing, Ustinov still hasn't inducted himself as being part of the VADA program. I don't even know how he's still refusing or dodging, should I say, a drugs test. So we don't know with Ustinov.
Damn, I can't believe he's still ducking. I know that's the reason why him and Ortiz didn't happen, because according to Ortiz's team, they said that Ustinov didn't want to sign up for VADA. So this is crazy that the dude just keep dodging his test, man.
Yeah. I mean, there's been no reports, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but there's been no reports that he's, signed up for it. And the last thing that the WBA said this year, around June of this year, was that he was still refusing to sign up to VADA. They still have a problem. So I don't know. And I mean, I know they're both the international and intercontinental champions at WBA, those two guys, or something like that. I know Manuel Char is the intercontinental champion, and I think
the guy that Dillian White just beat up.
That's Hellenius.
Oh no,
that's Hellenius.
No, I meant the guy before that. Who was it that he beat up? Was it Tan or was it Char?
No, that was Malcolm Tan.
Oh, it was Malcolm Tan. Okay.
Yeah. No, Manuel. His name's Manuel Char.
Manuel. Yeah, but Mr. Bach, today I was going to chime on your question. You just said that on your answer. You just said that Ortiz should have been revoked as mandatory since he was fighting for the WBC title. Okay, it's a fair enough point. But someone argued that there's other champions who moved up weight classes and fought other champions, and if those champions lost a fight, they end up keeping their titles still. Like Chad Dawson, for example, when he moved down the weight to fight Andre Ward. Mm-hmm. You're right. That's an example. Dawson lost that fight, but he still kept his 175-pound title. So some would look at that as the same thing. It's like, well, okay, what Ortiz is fighting for a title that he's not mandatory for, but he's a mandatory for the other organization. So why situations like champions get to fight other champions in other divisions still keep their titles if they happen to lose that fight and go back down in weight or go back up in weight? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, my rebuttal to that would be is I always hated that type of rule, man. So it's not just an Ortiz thing. I always hated that. I even hated this kind of different but similar when what's my man's name that lost to Gassiev? Lebedev. When he lost to Gassiev, he still was the WBA champion.
Yeah, how did he get that belt?
Oh,
that's crazy. That's
he didn't put the belt up. He didn't put the belt up for
But
I think he didn't put the belt up basically.
How does doesn't the WBA get to decide that?
The WBA decided not to sanction the fight for some reason. I think because of the sanctioning fees weren't. I think it was something that was going on with the sanctioning fees. I don't know, but they refused to sanction the fight.
No, but you know what it is, right? Let's say, for example, you've got all 3 belts, right? And all 4 belts. And let's say the WBO are going on funny. They're like, oh, you have to fight this mandatory within this particular time, right? Say like you fight 2 mandatories and the other 2 major weight class governing bodies, right? And you put up all 4 belts, you can have a fight that year just for the WBO title against their mandatory and not put up the other 2 belts. You can do that if you're the undisputed champion. So it's really the fighter or the manager, whoever it is, that gets to pick, you know, who when the belts are put up. All you have to do is pay the sanctioning fees for when that fight is. So if that's what happened with Lebedev there, you know what I mean? So he was just like clinging onto a belt and trying to get another title shot as well.
So basically, Lebedev set himself up a safety net.
yeah, that's been going on for time, man. That's been going for time. Yeah. Mayweather used to do that as well. I think Mayweather was really good at doing that, man. That's why after a while he just said, you know what, forget it, man. I'm just gonna fight for this WBC belt. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make that the main thing. You know what I mean? Because that's the belt everybody wants. You know what I mean? Not that he was discrediting the other belts. It's just, you know, because he used to do that as well, man.
Yeah, didn't that happen to Zab? Hey, y'all, didn't that happen to Zab too? Didn't Zab lose to Baltimore and then he still kept a title? Or am I mistaken about that?
That's right.
Yes. IBF?
No. What happened was he lost the titles, and what happened was Baltimore didn't pay the sanctioning fee. Well, you can say he kind of kept it. He lost the titles on record, and what happened was Baltimore did not pay the sanctioning fees for the IBF and the WBL. So WBA
became vacant.
Yeah, so they became vacant, but they got the titles got reverted back to Judah, and the WBA went to Luis Collazo. So that was kind of strange how that whole thing had turned about. So yeah, I mean it is kind of strange for Lebedev too. I mean it's like almost the same situation on that, man. But yeah, man, I know we all have a difference of opinions, all about respect. So yeah, man, it is kind of fireball how the things are being done. But to me, I think Luis Ortiz should, like I said, they it doesn't matter now. But obviously the WBA made their decision. They say, look, he's still the mandatory. He's waiting for his shot for a long time. Of course, Joshua was trying to get him out the way. Say, hey, well, if he's fighting for the WBC title, he should be fighting for my title. He should not be the mandatory. But it is what it is. But
it was. I don't agree with. them doing that.
Yeah, that sounds like some bullshit, man. That's some bullshit. Some fucking bullshit.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie Brown. Go ahead, man.
No, because because you know how I felt about this situation. Because to me, it just looks like they weren't too hot on fighting Ortiz, because they would have had to fight Ortiz in March. You know,
right?
That's Joshua. That is right. If he was still the mandatory, right. And I don't think I've got to be real. When people have movement, height, reach, and can box, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the Cuban thing. I don't know what it is. He don't want no part of Ortiz. Because I remember in the Olympics when he fought the Cuban, was it Savon? And a lot of people feel he lost that fight. Yeah, I watched it. I watched it with my brother, my younger brother's same age as Joshua, and he's a heavyweight boxer, and he was saying, a lot of people thought that he lost that fight. I thought he actually lost the final, personally, right? And I'll talk about that another time. But he doesn't do too well against guys that can move, basically, that can box with fast hands. I'm not saying that Ortiz would knock him out or anything. I don't even think Ortiz is capable of knocking out Wilder either. But the boxing ability wise, I think he gives a lot of people problems, and I think they just looked at him as a southpaw, and and they just didn't want it. They've never been hot in it, because even when I asked Eddie Hearn about it, he was just adamant. He like the answers he gave, I was like, oh, come on, Eddie, man. And the thing is, my recording equipment cut out of battery anyway. Yeah. So maybe I might put up some of that interview. I don't know, but he was hell bent on Ortiz being a cheat. He was pushing that narrative a lot. Yeah. And then it's funny, like 2 days later, he calls Jay Jimenez, and then he's like, I don't know. And he said it in the iFilm interview. I don't know if I believe him or not. But he did believe him. He did know that it was just a case of blood pressure meds and all of that. He knew that. But by then, the rot had kicked in. he'd already put that out, you know, he'd already set that narrative within the press that he's a drugs cheat, he should be banned, blah blah blah. Did you see Dillian White jumping it, Dave Allen jumping on it, or weeks later, 2 weeks later? So he got all his people up on it, and I was thinking, man, that's bad, man, because deep down when I spoke to him, he knew. In this picture that you see here in my avatar, he said that he kind of he did believe that Ortiz was in the right, but then, you know, on TV he's saying he's, you know, he's a drugs cheat, he should be banned. So I don't know, man. I really don't like that situation, but I'm glad that the WBC have reinstated him. And also I wanted to ask you a question about that as well. What does that mean for who becomes the number 2 and number 3? Because Ortiz was the number 2 behind Stiverne, and now that that's been honored, we know that Brazil's the mandatory now. What happens to the number 2 and 3?
I know Dillian White, I think, is number 2, I believe. Let me check right now. Dillian White is number 2. I think this got updated. Yeah, it's already updated now. So yeah. So Stiverne's out the way. So actually, Ortiz is still number 2. He's number 2. Dillian White's number 3. And Andy Ruiz number 4. Takam number 5. Well, Brazil's now the new mandatory, so that's done.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Also, he's
hey Dan,
what's up?
Is Brazil, because I've been getting conflicted messages throughout the weekend. Initially, a lot of us did videos saying that Brazil Molina was the final eliminator. If you go, well, at least on Saturday when I went to their WBC official website, on their upcoming fights, they had Brazil Molina as the final eliminator. Then when Boxing Scene did the article after the Brazil Molina fight, they said that the WBC president in that article changed the fight to just an elimination fight. So I'm stuck right now. I don't know if the Brazil's the mandatory, or is it White, or who the hell's the mandatory?
Well, the fight got sanctioned as a final eliminator, so the winner of the Brazil Molina fight would become the mandatory. And I think it could be some truth to that. I haven't looked at that Boxing article. Did it come out after the fight or before the fight?
Yeah, it was the article after the Brazil Molina. It was just giving us a rundown of what happened in the fight. And in that article, they said WBC president changed it to the just elimination.
You know what? It's probably because of the pressure.
I thought it was a box off.
No. It was at first it was a final eliminator. And you could be right. Let me look at that article. Because of the pressure that that the WBC was under, they were under fire for sanctioning that fight as a final eliminator. Because you have guys like Dillian White, Luis Ortiz, Andy Ruiz, Carlos Taco, all ahead of Brazil and Molina, all ahead of them. How can the hell you can sanction that fight for final eliminator? Those guys are not even the top 2 or top 3 guys fighting. You know,
I think what happened as well is that because Molina fought Joshua last year, and I think because Brazil's already fought that Nigerian brother this year, so he's been. Yeah, that's right. So he's been active. I think because Andy Ruiz hasn't been active. Obviously Carlos Takam just lost as well. Yeah, and it was, I think the way they kind of work it out is if, you know, especially as the fight got made, obviously in the public they said it was at short notice. Well, we know it wasn't short notice, but you know, let's just go with the narrative that they're trying to push. So I think that I'm sure that wouldn't Brazil and Dillian White wouldn't they have to fight each other?
That's what I thought.
Final eliminator. Yeah.
That's what I thought, man. Now, because I'm on the WBC website, obviously upcoming fights is not a Brazil Molina, being that it already passed. But it was on the upcoming fights, they had that fight and they had final elimination next to the fight. So
that's right. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of the WBC president, Mauricio Suleiman, I mean, this comment is going to piss a lot of people off, and I'm sure it's going to piss you off too, Mr. Boxing today. He said here, quote, on Wilder's win, when he saw Wilder beat Stiverne, he said, I saw Ali, Tyson, Holmes all in one in Deontay Wilder. I'm like, okay. He just saying, look, To be fair, he should say.
You're ribbing. You gotta be ribbing me.
Let me be fair. This is what he said. He said, "Look,
the son of Jose Bottle of Sullivan."
That's what he said.
Out of his mouth came those words.
Well, he just say, look, he just like he saw
He looked good though. He did look good though, man.
He did look good, but
I'm not trying to say he didn't. I'm not trying to say he didn't. Holy shit, man.
Damn.
What's up, brother?
Okay, so this is the article right here. It was written by Keith Eidig, and the title of it is Dominic Brazil stops Eric Molina at Barclays. I'm just reading real quick. It says, the win will elevate Brazil in the WBC rankings, but WBC president Mauricio Suleiman said that Brazil-Molina match wasn't a final eliminator. That means Brazil isn't the mandatory challenger winner for Wilder-Stiverne rematch later Saturday night. So,
all right. Well, you know what's funny, though, because Al Bernstein on air criticized that fight being a final eliminator. So I guess based off that backlash of criticism, that's when Mauricio Suleiman decided to change it. Because he was coming under fire for that because Dillian White protested against it too, which he did have a right to protest it. Yes, he didn't look good against Robert Lanius. I know, Charlie Brown, you and I were talking about that. He's like, well, hey, you performed pretty badly. You pretty much are not. You shouldn't be getting the shot right now. I mean, which is one argument you can make, but the principle of it, he did fight to get in that position. He is rated higher than those guys. I mean, at first when he fought Robert Lanius, we thought that was a final eliminator, wasn't it not? Wasn't that not a final eliminator?
Yeah, but the thing is, let's be honest, right? And I'm gonna say this, right? Because I'll give you an example of what I mean. Obviously, there's an incentive for Brazil to be the mandatory anyway, because he has a grudge with Wilder, right?
Right.
Whatever happened with him and his brother and all of that stuff, right? So.
Right.
In some ways, if the money, we've got to think about the business side of it as well. If the money incentive is there as well, and it's an all-American clash, and there's some needle, and there's some that, then I'm not being funny. The guy has to be mandatory. Look, if Derek Chisora would have won on Saturday night, right? Being that he was number 8 at the time. Of that fight in the rankings for the WBC, if he would have won, there would have been people calling out for him and Dillian White to fight each other. Over here, it makes money sense. They got a rivalry, there's needle. Now, I wouldn't want to see that fight again, but most people would call for it. They'd say the first fight was close, blah, 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 blah. All politics and anybody who was mandatory for the WBC silver title would be, all that logic would be thrown out the window. It would just become things. So I'm not, look, if it happens in my country, it should happen all the world over. That's my thing. So I'm not really and truly, Brazil really should be the mandatory. You know what I'm saying? He's been active this year against a live opponent in Izzy.
Gano.
Ugano. So he's been busy. And it's a live opponent. He beat him. He got off the canvas twice. Dillian White's just had a fight with Malcolm Tan.
Yeah, that's true.
He went to prison for 10 years. He just literally came home just the other day after a 10-year bid. So I'm sorry, White, and the performance as well, the way he dealt with. I mean, let's be honest. Helenius was injured. His right hand was injured most of the fight. And he was just plodding around the ring.
You know what, though?
Which round was Charlie Brown? You said something about, I think he's hurt one of his hands. Yeah. You actually said that, Charlie Brown. I can't remember which. You actually say that.
If you look at the interview and it's on Mr. Boxing Today's channel again, the interview with him where he's talking, he's showing his left fist to the screen, but his right fist is hidden. It's hidden the whole time he's talking. And I'm thinking, usually if you're a right-handed person. Yeah, no, after the fight, post-fight, he did an interview saying, I wasn't fully prepared. I only had a week's notice, which I found as well, which I believe him as well. And I was really sickened to hear that, but it happens. But usually if you're a right-handed person, when he put his fist to the screen, usually a person would put their stronger fist to the screen. He didn't put his right fist nowhere near the screen. He put his left fist. So, and I knew he wasn't throwing his right hand the way he usually does. The punches were coming from underneath, and I saw him injure it. They said it on the commentators as well over here. They said, "Oh, I think he's injured his hand as well." So it wasn't just like I thought it and I was the only one.
I had it. I had it muted. Okay.
Yeah. No, because he was throwing his punches very sparingly from about the third round onwards, man. And
yeah.
There might be a possibility.
Shots, I thought the body shots.
Well, you know what? Though? No, I was going to say though, to your Jolly Brown, your point of though, Brazil actually has fought better opposition than Dillian White at this point. So that's another point to be that's another point that could be made. He has fought,
and also as well, I suppose if you look at the performance against Joshua, if you look at both their performances, although Dillian White landed more shots than Brazil did, Brazil was probably more durable or showed more durability within that fight as well than Dillian White did. Dillian White got really badly knocked out. Brazil was knocked out, but it was more, he would have kept getting up and up and up till the fight ended. Like Dillian White was properly knocked out. So I just think that the fight should just go ahead. It should just be he should be the mandatory, and that should be a good warm-up fight for Wilder. You know what I mean? Wilder deserves as much how can I say protection as Joshua does, and Parker, all of them. If they're champions, serious. I have to look at both aspects: the business, the politics, everything. It all part of it.
Uniformity we're looking for. What did you say?
What's that?
Would that be appropriate for what uniformity? Is that what you're?
No. I'm saying that I'm saying, look. I'm just not biased. I'm not one of these people that's gonna hold Wilder to some crazy standards and he must fight Dillian White. I'm just gonna be real with you. Dillian White should humble himself. You've seen my video. I said, Dillian White, humble yourself. Learn your craft first. Who are you to call out Wilder? I'm not feeling that. You know what I mean? He's from the same island. I'm saying to myself, this guy, he don't deserve to be calling out Wilder. You know what I mean? He's going to make himself look bad. He's going to get badly exposed. You know what I mean? He's going to be badly beaten as well if he goes in there with Wilder. It's just like, and a lot of people want to see that in Britain. A lot of people are like gassing his head. Yeah, man, you can knock out Wilder. All Tony Bellew, all these people. Come on, man. Tony Bellew would get destroyed by Wilder, man. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing what they're seeing. I don't drink Gatorade, man. I just gotta keep it.
Go ahead. I'm glad you said he needs to master his craft, man. One day, this was months ago. Maybe some of you seen it if you follow him on Instagram, Dillian White.
Yeah.
He's tough, all right. But there was one video he put up when he was hitting the speed bag, or should I say he couldn't even really hit the speed bag. And I'm sitting there watching like, this dude hasn't mastered the speed bag yet. But he left a caption saying, man, I hate the speed bag. Then he put up another video like a few days later saying I'm getting better at it. And I'm just sitting there like, dude, you're a professional boxer. You haven't mastered the speed bag?
Yeah, because he doesn't beat on his craft. You see, that's where it's Mr. Boxer today. He does a lot of weights, and he's becoming. This happens to a lot of European fighters. It's just they go in that big heavy bag, and they throw the hooks. Derek Chisora, same way. They do a bit of sparring here and there. No road work, he's just getting like that. That's how it is with him, and I just think he needs to really master his craft properly, man. You know what I mean? And he was saying that he wanted to fight taller fighters, right? So that he learns how to deal with them, this, that, and the third. But the thing is, right, if you're sparring regularly against tall guys and you're doing the right kind of drills in the gym as well to sharpen you, it's not the same as fighting in the ring, we know that, but you'd have a lot more confidence in your abilities. To me, he seems badly flawed. And I just reckon if he gets in the ring with Wilder, after what I saw on Saturday there, Wilder comes in at 220. That's his fatality almost, man. I'm serious. It just wouldn't be good, man. I used to believe in Dillian White, that he's very tough and he'll fight anybody. But that's about it, man. I think he needs to really humble himself. You know what I mean? He's a 2 times drugs cheat himself. He's lucky to, and I'm not saying that people can't change their life around and change it for the better, but sometimes when you got to look at your own self and say, well, boy, shit, man, I've done drugs in my time. You know what I mean? I was banned as an amateur, I was banned as a pro. I should really humble myself. I should learn to hit that speed bag for 3 hours instead of doing it for 30 minutes and then taking selfies and driving around Brixton like I'm a god. You know what I mean? Instead of that, let me stay in the gym and hit that speed bag until I master it. You know what I mean? Because because like Mr. Boxing today said, right? If he does 3 hours of that practice of that a day, I know it's a lot, but if he does, he'll get very, very good at it very quickly. You know what I mean? Within a week, 2 weeks, it's there, it's embedded in him, and then he could start to work on other things, the maze bag, the double N. But I just reckon these guys are heavy bag guys, man. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's a good.
I don't even. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. I mean, I agree with you. Dillian really gotta just. He's got to humble himself too. I mean, based off that performance against Elenius, I mean, I'm not saying he don't. I mean, he still has a right to say I can deserve a shot because I fought my way to this position. I get you, but you still got to work on your craft, man. There's some things you got to do some serious adjustments in your technique, man. You're sloppy with your hooks. I mean, you've done better in most fights, yes, but sometimes even in those fights you got sloppy with your punches, man. You're making them too wide sometimes. You got to work on that. You keep your hands extremely low. You seem more slower and flat-footed than usual, so. Yeah, he's really got to work on something. He's got to work on a lot of things, man. And like like I said, I think, like you said, Mr. Boxing today said, I think he just got to take this more seriously and work on his craft.
That leads. I got a question, and that leads right into it perfectly.
Yeah.
Do you guys think? Because this is the thing that leaps out at me when it was brought up comparing Brazil's performance against Joshua to Dillian White's. The thing that leaps out at me actually is the fighters they've become since the Joshua fight. To me, Brazil has shown, this is just my opinion, he seems like he's learned a whole lot. Like you can tell. You know what I mean?
Has.
Even the way he got up from being knocked down to me looked different than when you know what I mean? Than when he got up, even from when Mansour dropped him. You know what I mean? It just was a different. He had a whole different aspect to him, if you get me.
Right. You see that about Brazil.
Whereas White seems like if he's changed, it's been very little.
Yeah. Well, the thing about but you think about Brazil is that he's one of those guys who's very durable.
I was posing that as a question. I was curious for your guys' opinions.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Brazil. He's one of those guys who's very durable. He gets hit, but he can give back more what he can take. That's how he is. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to throw a kitchen sink and a brick at this dude to knock him out. Seriously, you really gotta throw everything at him, and he's gonna keep coming at you. And Israel gonna spend so much energy trying to knock him out, and that was a terrible mistake because he's not used to that type of environment. So that's something he should have. When he comes back, that's something Ghana should do. And Amir Mansour, we all know what happened to that situation. One punch changed the whole fight when he busted. I think he broke Mansour's jaw or something, or lacerated his tongue, one of the two. And Mansour had to retire.
Both, actually.
It was both, yeah.
Tongue. Yeah, he bit into his tongue. Yeah.
Definitely the tongue. It was definitely a tongue. I don't know about the broken jaw, but I remember hearing something about Amir Mansour a broken jaw. May have been a different fight, though.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, Brazil definitely definitely earned my stripes, man. Because I wasn't really too skeptical about him, though, man. I mean, I was very skeptical about it, I should say, because his technique was lacking. I mean, definitely he got to work on his defense. I with Kiwi Box in the comment section. He definitely got to work on defense. He hasn't really improved much in there. Like I said, he's relying too much on his chin and pressure style to get through his fights. So he's got to work on that.
He's got that George Chuvalo defense.
Hey. I disagree with both of you guys, man. Brazil, to me, his defense, and now this is after the Joshua fight, his defense, he's still very hittable. And I actually said this on one of Kiwi Box's live streams, and I forgot who I heard this from on one of the old school boxing documentaries, but I forgot. But he's the type of dude where you can stand at the top level of the stadium, throw a bottle at the ring, and I swear to you, it's going to hit Dominic Brazil. He's just.
Yeah.
But he is tough as nails. He has a chin, and he will put pressure on you. And he looks like a guy that's 6'8", 200, and 70 pounds. He looks like that type of guy. He's just isn't quick-footed. He isn't the fastest hands. He's just relentless.
Right.
And he just has tenacity in the ring, but he's still very hittable, man. His defense is lacking. And I think it's going to be like that through his whole career. And he's just going to be that guy in this era, like Chuvalo, just guy that just takes beatings, man. But he can still win the fight, but he's going to take a beating. He's just that type of guy, in my opinion.
He's a truth machine. He's one of them truth machine fighters. If you're not in shape and you're not prepared, you know what I mean? It's gonna, even if you win, it's going to be a rough night against that guy.
Yeah, that's a good point, man.
He could still learn. I think he can learn if he learns his craft a bit more.
To me, he's in balance already since the Joshua fight. But yes, there's definitely room for more. Yeah, and he can.
He needs to up his work rate a lot more. I know what Mr. Boxer today is saying in terms of his defense, because he doesn't have much of an offense either. In terms of his throwing his hands, that he does get hit. That's another reason why he gets hit as well. People are able to set a pace in the fight against him. I think I mean, he'll have to against Wilder, because again, that'll be a brutal beating, man. Yeah, that'll be a very brutal beating if he fights that same way. But I just think in terms of both him and Dillian, I mean, Dillian does have good stamina. He did prove that in the fight against Helenius. But the way I see it, if a man's broken his right hand, had a week's notice, and is basically a sitting target, just plodding around the ring, that's the guy you knock out. You don't try your hardest like to please the crowd, but you bring those hands down, you start to go to the head and thing. And he didn't do that in that fight. He just sort of I don't know what he was trying to do. He was trying to please the crowd too much in one sense, but then in another sense as well, man, you should know within 7 or 8 rounds how to get your guy out of there, man. To me, and again, he's not beating on his craft enough, man.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I mean, Dillian definitely got to work on a lot.
He showed no patience.
I guess there's a lot. Like you guys said, I think it was under pressure the fact that he's trying to impress the crowd, press Eddie Hearn to show he's worthy of the white fight. I mean, of the Wilder fight. The Wilder fight. So he's trying to. It was all in his head. So he was. It was just so much thoughts running in his mind. But yeah, he didn't really look good doing that. But one thing I would say this though, Eddie Hearn may not like this at all, and this I'm sure you guys caught the story today. Carl Froch came out and said that Anthony Joshua should fight Wilder next. Dillian Whyte is not ready for that fight. What are your thoughts about that? Carl Froch came out and said this.
Yeah, well, Carl Froch is actually starting to talk a bit of truth now. You know what I mean? Maybe Sky won't renew his contract or something, man. So he's starting to talk about with truth now, because I mean, it is what it is, man. You see, the problem is over here is that if you petition for that fight, I mean, the amount of thumbs down I got on my video about Wilder, and it was a positive one about Wilder, it just tells me, and it's all from UK people, but I'm thinking to myself, who's Joshua going to fight? I mean, he's got, like I said, they've taken Ortiz out of the WBA basically, right? There's no big fights out there for him other than Wilder and Parker. Those are the only 2 big fights. And then underneath that, you've got Big Baby Miller and Ortiz. And it seems like he don't want none of those fights, man. So
weren't they trying to drag old Vitaly out not too long ago? On top of that, they were serious about it.
Yeah, they were going to drag out old Vitaly. I mean, come on, man. I mean,
although I do have to say, I had it muted. It was me and Beats were doing commentary, right? And it did look like Vitaly wanted a piece of him right after the fight. You know, it wasn't Vladimir. Vladimir was a good sportsman. It was Vitaly that had to be kind of, come on.
Well, Vitaly needs to
Let it go.
just
Let
enjoy
it
your
go.
retirement, man. You don't need to get back in the ring and get hurt.
That's right. With his old knees, man.
Yeah, man. Just enjoy your retirement.
Parker-Browne knows what I'm talking about. The big brother needs to let it go. Big brother just needs to let that one go. You know.
Well, I mean, the thing I brought up Carl Froch because I don't think people are going to take those words of Carl Froch too kindly now. Now they're going to probably berate him on Twitter now for saying that. So, I mean, look, Carl Froch is his own man. He's going to speak his opinion. We may disagree with a lot of things he say, but hey, he's just stating his opinion. He said, look, as a fan, I just really want to see that fight next. And I just don't think Dillian White is ready for the fight. I think he needs 2 or 3 more fights to be fully ready for a Wilder fight. That's what Carl Froch that's what he said.
Yeah, I think Brazil's more ready for to put up some resistance than Dillian White.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely. Yeah,
Hey,
definitely.
I expect I expect a man like Carl Froch to say that because this is somebody that has fought in a tournament format with the best fighters in his division. So his is, hey man, let's move on to the next one. Not
that's right.
Appetizer. His mindset is somebody that has fought in tournament format. So I expect Carl Froch to say that, man.
Yeah. Well, like I said, man, not to me, people are going to take that kindly from Carl Froch because you have to understand, Carl Froch is very revered over in the UK. Maybe I'm wrong about this, Charlie Brown. He's very respected over there, and in some cases,
I think it's
you think
he is well respected. Yeah,
he's very.
I think it's to do with Eddie Hearn. I think it's to do with Eddie Hearn and Sky. You see what I mean?
Right.
I think the thing about Britain is like we got that mentality. I don't know if America's like that. It's like we kind of, if one person does something, we let that one person do it and rely on that person. I don't really like that. It's like as if only one person can exist. 2 entities can't coexist. But we're starting to realize that we have choice now. You know what I mean? With regarding Frank Warren, with BT and everything else. So when it comes to, they always see like Eddie Hearn as the number 1, and then I guess Sky is the number 1, right? That's how they keep trying to push that narrative. So obviously Carl Froch is part of that. He was part of, I mean, people forget, right? Carl Froch made his name on ITV. He made his name on free television. Sky didn't even want a part of him when he beat Jean Pascal.
Yeah.
All them years ago. They didn't even want a part of him. It wasn't till he entered the tournament, I think he was 2 fights into the tournament, that they actually signed him up. Sky. You know what I mean? So, you know, Britain can be very fickle as well. What have you done for me lately? So, you know, as much as they're revering Carl Froch today, give it another year, they'll be criticizing him. You know what I mean? He'll be out of contract till we talk about, you know, he's depressed and all this shit. Because you see, when he says stuff like that, I mean, he's saying it because he's pissed off, because he's finally realizing that Eddie's not going to play that game. He's not going to play the game that what Mr. Boxing Today was saying as well. I'm like that as well. I got that mindset. I like to see them fight the best. Once you've got a title, you fight the best, and you go down the list.
Exactly. That's what Carl Froch did.
Eddie Hearn is a silver spoon boy. You know what I mean? He's never put on gloves in his damn life. You know what I mean? So it's like his mentality is business. You know what I mean? Oh, well, we'll do that. We'll maximize on that. And you know, do you really think? I mean, I don't sing Sweet Caroline. I don't sing that shit. I hate when I'm at these venues and I hear that shit, man. You know what I mean? I'd rather be in America. Like,
I've always wondered what was up with the Neil Diamond. What was up with the Neil Diamond?
It's crazy. But that is Britain. But that is Britain for you, man.
It's over like Rover. It's over like Rover. I mean, like, what the? What?
Listen, that is like old working class Cockney, you know, white English kind of. You know,
apparently,
tradition, you know what I mean? Like that's not Caribbean tradition, man. That's not, you know.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah, but even Irish tradition, because you got to remember as well, man. Look, a lot of these guys are part Irish, Mr. Doc, right? A lot of them, including Hearn and that. So I don't know what they just do that to appease the English, that small pocket of fans. You know what I mean? Because
the punters, is that what they mean when they say the punters?
The punters, yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, low places in the comment section. He said that both Brazil and Dillian White are tomato cans.
Like Beetlejuice. Here it
Yeah,
comes.
Ah, Lord.
Listen, just cut to the car crash, low place. Get in here. Come on.
Yeah, get in here, because he was criticizing Wilder for that knockout of Stiverne, too. You hear he went on a rant. Yeah, you went on that rant.
Wait, what happened to greatest of all time? What happened to greatest of all time? They went in on this guy?
Low called him tomato.
What's up?
Yeah.
I said low place called them both tomato cans. I thought he meant just tomato, pretty much the same thing. I didn't. I thought he put that. I didn't think he called it.
Well, you know what? You're right. He said tomato. Probably the same thing, but I wanted him to clarify that. Do you mean tomato cans, brother? Is that what you're saying, low place?
Call in low place.
Yeah. Either way, I think.
No. They're the same thing. What he's saying is no. He's saying tomato.
Six one way, half a dozen the other. In other words, yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right.
That's what I thought.
I kind of get what he's saying. Okay, never mind here. But anyways, the dude was in the conversation. He ranted about Wilder knocking out Stiverne. I'm like, dude, why are you ranting? Yeah, it's funny as hell. James Boone in the comment section said, if I remember correctly, at Talking's fight, a lot of crowds shouted out Wilder's names when Aaron asked who should AJ fight next. Yeah, I remember that. It was like 60,000 people or 70,000 people who shouted that name, Wilder. I think Eddie Hearn didn't want that. Yeah. I think Eddie Hearn did not want that reaction. He was trying to test the water to see who they were going to react to. If they didn't say Wilder's name, he's going to say, you see, Deontay, nobody wants to see you fight my guy. They don't know you. There's no point to make that fight.
That was a what can I get away with move.
Yeah, that's what it was. What can I get away with? He tried it.
I know one thing, man. It's good having Charlie Brown on here, man. Not so much that I agree with everything he says or he agree with everything I say, but just to hear a UK fan's perspective without talking about stadium talk and just stuff that, yes, it means something for the business, but as far as just wanting to fight and knowing that it's the fight that should be made, it's just refreshing to hear a UK have that point of view, man. A UK fan have that point of view.
That's right. A lot of it is because as well, a lot of people try to see I'm there in the picture with him, right? I don't feel no way to express myself, you know what I mean? To tell it how it is. And Eddie Hearn respects that in people, right? He's around so many yes people. You gotta imagine he's from the day he was 13 growing up. He's a son of a millionaire, so he's always had yes people around him growing up. So when he meets somebody like me, somebody like EJ Watson Live, someone like that, guys like us, he likes that. It's refreshing because he can have a good conversation. It's real, and we give it to him straight. So I think it's refreshing as well to hear from somebody like Mr. Boxing Today as well. Somebody who when they talk about boxing, it's not just from the same perspective that I hear in America as well. Because the thing is, look, I'm like this. I want to see the best fights, and I want to see all fighters fight to the best of their potential. Obviously, we understand business, this, that, and the third, but I just want to see. I want to see the best fight the best, man, and at the time that is suitable for both of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, thanks for that. Yeah.
Yep. Shout out to EJ too and Box Beats around. I like them too.
Yeah. We always be in the hangout, man. Those are the boys.
Seconded on all fronts for what it's worth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and K Blacks also says, look, every logical fan, shout out to K Black Boxing. He said, look, every logical fan knows that Wilder Joshua should be next. I mean, Carl Froch even said the same thing. What they're gonna do? Attack Carl Froch for what he just said? I mean, that's coming.
And see what we've been saying? We've been saying want, should, hopefully. No one said we expect. You know what I mean? There's a difference.
Yeah, because it's a difference between if it don't happen, I'm not going to watch the fights anymore. You know what I mean? We just want it. That's all. And it's okay for us to want, like you guys said. Without us wanting it, how do the promoters even know that the fight is something that the fans want without demand?
Exactly. Demand drives supply. It's basic economics. Very good. Excellent point.
Right, exactly. I mean, look, man, we all want that fight to happen. I think it should have happened next. But to me, like I said, guys, I'm a rational fan. I'm like, look, if it can't happen right away, Eddie Hearn, fine. Just please get an agreement. Get a guarantee that that fight will happen on a later date. That's all I'm asking, man.
Right.
This all
Yeah,
will go away if you just do that. It's very simple logic. If this will
And
all go away, you will not be lambasted for all this. Just do that, man. Do what Ward Kovalev did, and this will be
yeah.
all. Just all go away, man. Seriously.
All right.
I mean,
Oh, go ahead, Mister. Go ahead.
and then another thing is don't play us for stupid with all the old, well, he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that. In his 19th fight, he did this. And it's like, dude,
That's right.
and,
that's what he said in the interview, man.
and then
Yeah,
another thing is this whole money thing, especially with older fans, we seen Holyfield and Tyson rake in 30 million
that's right.
plus a piece in the 90s. I'm not even sure how much that is into today's money. Was it probably 50 million, 40 million? So we already
Yeah,
money. Floyd Mayweather making $200 million. Anthony Joshua's not the only guy that's banking. And there's a lot of fighters, well, not a lot, but there are some other fighters
yeah.
like Mayweather who should making what 5 times as much as Anthony Joshua. So we've already seen that, been there, done that, man.
hmm Yeah, it's there's a lot of hype surrounding Joshua as well, a lot of myth, you know what I mean, in terms of his marketability and stuff like that. The kids they say he's a global superstar. I'm like, nah, he ain't. Nah,
Nah, he
he's a
ain't.
good boxer, man. He's a good boxer that with who trains a lot. You know what I mean? Trains really hard and he's very humble and he needs to start taking control of his management. You know what I mean? Let Eddie Hearn, like I've always said, blow up the balloons, Eddie. You know what I mean? And let somebody else do the managing of Joshua, man. Maybe he should just let Rob McCracken just do the management because if Rob McCracken had his way, Joshua would be in the ring with Wilder straight away. You know what I mean? And it would be a good fight. It would make for a much better fight because Rob McCracken's that type of guy. You know what I mean? But Eddie, for some reason, I don't know if he's trying to make as much money as he can off Joshua before putting him in there with Wilder. I don't know if he doesn't have confidence in Joshua fighting Wilder, but for whatever it is, it seems to be Eddie's is on a bit of a power trip. You know what I mean? And it's not about Matchroom or the brand of Matchroom. I don't mean to be selfish. Really and truly, it is about the fighter. It is about Joshua, man. We want to see Joshua Wilder. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I reckon this melodrama is going to go on all next year. And I reckon that fight, I just got a feeling it's going to happen in 2019.
Yeah,
That's what I got.
I think let's be logical. It may happen 2019. That's where I see it at this point. Where like I said, guys, we all know that Eddie Hearn. This is all in their balls in their court. They're going to have to
Yeah,
dictate the way this is going to go. That's the unfortunate reality. But if based off pressure, if they continue to get pressure the way they're getting now, even from the likes
yeah.
of Carl Froch, then
Yes,
maybe
yeah,
it could
that's
happen
true.
sooner than we could think. But it more likely is going to happen 2019. But again, like I said, just don't let this process, prolong. I mean, if it prolongs, okay, but just get a guarantee. Just get something in there that this fight's going to happen down the road. Just put a guaranteed in it. That's all. And
Yeah,
we won't have to say much about it. I mean,
At
we
least put them in. At least give us a double header. You
right.
know, like we used to get back in the day. That used to be common practice. You know what I mean? You'd have, before the two main guys fought each other, they'd, be on the same bill, on the same card to build up the fight. So
Yep.
what?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, I can see that, Charlie Brown. How about they do double
What?
header at Wembley, and then assuming they both get through, then you do Vegas.
So you mean the fall of? Yeah, it would definitely have to be Vegas then. If they fight in the fall, it has to be in Vegas because of the temperature.
Yeah,
It'll be a lot warmer. It's indoor stadium.
Then you
See,
get
because
the
you
best
can't.
of both worlds, if you get me.
I can't see 90,000 people in Wembley during December. That's too cold. Or November. That's freezing, man. I can't see that happening.
Only soccer fans are doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they'll have to be really tuned up on alcohol, and You know what I mean? To keep myself warm, and there you got problems there, man. You're gonna have problems there, man. I just think people coming from America to support Wilder and seeing that, and I just it doesn't. To me, it's not good, man. It's not good.
Yeah.
I know what would happen there, so I'd rather, and that's another reason why I want to kind of see it in America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you guys are a bit more civil. You know what I mean? Okay, the atmosphere, like Mr. Boxing today said, you guys go off what you see in the ring. You don't go off what you see outside of it. Or, you know what I mean? British fans, yeah, the atmosphere is good, but there's a downside to that as well. So I want to see, I'd really like to see that in Vegas. If it can happen next year, I definitely want to see it in Vegas, man, or Barclays Center.
So basically, just to be clear, you're concerned about violence, basically.
Yeah, man.
Hooligans.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, hooliganism, all of that. No, I'm saying if it's in the cold, if it's in the sun, everybody's gonna be happy because they're getting their blast of vitamin D. But in the winter,
yeah. If it's cold, you're getting the nut jobs. You're getting the crazy people. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And you know, you're gonna have Wilder fans coming from places like down south and places like that. And you know what I mean?
And nobody's gonna be sober. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? What'd you do to a drunk person? What'd you do to a drunk person if they call you a such and such? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There you have it. So
that's a riot waiting to happen. I got you. I'm on board. You got me on board totally, Charlie Brown. You broke it down just like I needed to hear. Thank you. Charlie Brown knows the language I speak. I got to give him that.
And especially, and then you've got to think back to Marvin Hagler. Probably Mr. Boxing today will remember this. And you remember Marvin Hagler and Alan Minter.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, so we don't want to, I don't want to see that. You know what I mean? I want to see if when what happens transpires the way I see it happening. I just want everybody to be safe and it to be respectful, you know what I mean? Because we've had a history of being very respectful as British fans. It's just this sort of tribalism has just come about in the last year or two, you know what I mean?
Right.
This sort of pro-Matchroom, pro-Joshua sort of thing. And it's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit fickle to me, man.
So you're saying that if they were to, just hypothetically, if they were to have a double header first and then fight each other, so are you saying they'd have to do Vegas first and then Wembley?
No, the other way around.
Oh, so it does have to be Wembley first. It would have to be Wembley.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's what I think.
Wembley's okay during spring, during summer, because it's outdoors. You know what I mean? Once you go into like December, November times, these times now, it's cold. It's freezing cold. So. And if you're one of those people that has to sit right at the top of the stadium, you know, in the back,
nosebleeds, hanging from the rafters,
Go on.
I was going to ask something real quickly. I just change the topic just a little bit. Hey, Mr. Boxing today, I was going to ask you a question, man. Mauricio Suleiman came out and said that. No. We already talked about that one. One of the commenters brought up a question in here, and I think it was Peanut Crackers, or was it James Boone? It's one of the two. But anyways, he said here, quote, that I think Deontay Wilder, he asked me this question, asked my thoughts on it. He said, Dan, serious question. Do you think Deontay Wilder is the most devastating puncher heavyweight since George Foreman? I think so. What are your thoughts? What do you think, man, about that?
Oh, man. Well, he definitely puts people on highlight reels. That's for damn sure. But that's a tough question, man. Even a guy who I don't think gets enough credit for his heavy hand, Lennox Lewis. I know we bring up Tyson first and Ernie Shavers and all that, but Lennox had extreme hands, man, especially when he really wanted to go in there and put it on you. Tommy Morrison, he probably wasn't the best heavyweight, but he had pretty heavy hands, good left hook. David Tua was another guy that put people to sleep. He could probably give Wilder a run for his money as far as highlight reel one-punch knockouts. Tua.
Yeah. What about Razor Ruddock?
Ruddock had the smash. I remember when he fought Tyson that first time. It was arguable that he had the best left hand in boxing at that point before he fought Tyson. But I like to go by eras, man. So in this era right here, I think he is one of the heaviest punchers. It's hard to say, man. You know what I mean? Who punched harder, but he's definitely up there. Put it like this: Wilder's putting his name up there, and then even Vladimir. Vladimir's a guy that don't get enough credit for he knocked out over 50 people, man. So Vladimir's up there. It's hard to say, man. It's hard, but he's definitely making a case, though. He's definitely making a case.
Yeah, well, the argument is that who's more devastating. I mean, Vladimir wasn't really a devastating knockout artist. Yes, he knocked a lot of guys out. Not taking anything away from that, but he was not known to really be a devastating knockout artist. Like I say. But when I was asked this question, I would say after George Foreman, before Deontay Wilder, I would say Razor Ruddock, David Tua, Shannon Briggs. I mean, those guys were devastating knockout artists. They were very devastating. And Shannon Briggs in his prime, I should say. You can also, I mean, as far as Lennox is concerned, yes, he did punch hard, but I would slightly disagree because Lennox wasn't really a devastating knockout artist. Yeah, he could knock you out.
Nah, he was, man. He was.
Nah,
I have to disagree there, man.
No, he was just technical with it, though,
badly.
Dan.
He's badly underrated.
I think Lennox was just technical with his, though. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? But it's that's a hard question, man. For me, it's really a hard question. So many devastating guys. I mean, shit, Klitschko knocked out Chambers pretty bad. That was like Deontay Wilder type of knockout.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, yeah, it's a very good question, a very good debate, very hard to answer. We all have our opinions.
I would say this much. I'd say this much, and I've already said this before. I think a couple times. I would say this: Wilder is like Mr. Boxing Today alluded to. He's this era's Ernie Shavers.
No, man.
He's
better than that. He's better than that, G. He's better than that.
No. We're just talking about whoa. Pump the brakes. We're talking about one punch power. We're not talking about anything other aspect. Relax.
Nah, he's pretty. Nah, I put Wilder up there, man. I'm a person that, you see, I'm not one of these people. I'm boxing. I've watched I'm a historian in some senses, but I got to be real, man. A lot of the guys from the 80s onwards, they would have beaten a lot of those guys from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, man. I'm sorry, man. Lennox Lewis, to me, is very underrated when it come to knocking guys out concussively and stuff like that. And like Mr. Boxing Today said, he was very technical with it. I think Wilder's better than Ernie Shavers, man. I'm sorry,
I don't
man.
know about that one, man. Hold on.
Yeah, I have to.
I don't know about that one, man.
He knocks
out Ernie Shavers.
You got a little bit to prove. Now, is he where did that? I didn't even say anything about head to head. You're taking it off and off.
No. You're saying one punch power. You're saying one punch power. Bro.
Yeah, I was strictly talking about. He is in terms of one punch power. He's that dude. That guy with the equalizer. Is he not? He's better.
I think he's better than that.
That answer to you being like low place now. I get you. You're pulling them similar evasive tactics. I'm on to you.
Nah, man. Here's the way I look at it. I mean, Wilder doesn't have a Jimmy Ellis or Ken Norton on his resume. No, he has a fight. He might like those guys. I mean, until you get to that point, maybe we could have that discussion, but at this point, I mean, let's say he's probably closer.
He's got the punch. He's got that kind of an equalizer. He's got that kind of an equalizer.
Yeah, you can say one distinguishing factor. Wilder is a champion. Chambers was not. Obviously, there's a reason why he was a champion, because you had Muhammad Ali there, then you had Larry Holmes. Those two guys are difficult to beat. All right, yeah, he came up short against Holmes twice, but I will say this though. I mean, he fought and beat better opposition than Wilder at this point. I ain't gonna lie. I like Deontay Wilder. So, I mean, until you could get a Jimmy Ellis or a Ken Norton on your resume, then yeah, that would be up for discussion.
But the thing is, I think, you see, that's another thing as well. You see, when we compare to those days, I mean, we're not looking at the guys today like Jimmy Ellis's and Ken Norton's and all of the rest of it. Like, you'll never get a Kenny Norton and the Jimmy Ellis,
no, you're not.
type of guys. So that's why you see with me, because when you're talking to the younger guys that are coming into boxing, that's why I don't try and put that nostalgia into their mindset. You know
It's
what
an
I mean?
unfair standard. You're right. It is an unfair standard.
Unfair. They're never going to feel it
Right.
in anybody's eyes. In my eyes, they'll feel it. But what I instill into them is that they become their own legend. They, whatever it is, you know what I mean? They become it. They have their own individuality and they move forward, because that's the only way that boxing transcends. If we keep comparing to the yesterday, it's not good. And that's why I say, you know, you guys don't like it. The other day I said Larry Holmes had the best. I said Larry Holmes had the best jab in heavyweight boxing. I got crucified. But
Yes, he did.
you know what I mean?
By who?
Did.
Whoa. By who? Who crucified you for that? I mean, you know, my opinion might differ,
No,
but
hold on. I got to put you on the spot.
hang on.
No. It wasn't by any of you
Charlie.
guys. It wasn't you guys.
No. I know. I was just like, whoa, crucified. That's a harsh way of putting it. I mean, what are they doing?
I got crucified by somebody, but the thing is, you know what? It's just like, it's like what I said. What I said to the person was, you know what I mean? Like, if you ask most people of the new generation and older generation, you know, you see it, and there's a lot of videos on who had the best heavyweight jab in boxing, and most people agree that it was Larry Holmes. You know what I mean?
Well,
they say Ali second.
There's
They
nothing
say
wrong
Ali
with this.
second.
Yeah, I was going to say there's absolutely nothing wrong with that pick. You know what I mean?
No. There's nothing
what?
wrong with the jab part, but did you have him rated higher than Ali overall, though? Did you, Charlie Brown?
I had the jab first. It was I said the jab. Yeah. I didn't say, but I did have him rated. I did have him rated over him. I had Lennox rated over him.
That's right.
But you know, because the way I compare things is into if they fought in today's modern times. You know what I mean? If they were both in the ring, if they were both at their peak, you got to look at these guys are massive, man. They're coming in 240, 250. Ali at his heaviest was about 230, man. You know what I mean? He was 238 for Larry Holmes, and that was seen as big. You know what I mean? By his standards. Usually Ali was a 215 guy. So yeah. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? If you compare them, somebody like Lennox is 245 with speed and technicality.
Yeah. See the thing
you have to look at it, you know.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. The where this time travel and stuff gets messed up is you have to start factoring in. Well, okay, then he's going to have the benefits of all the modern, you know what I mean, food and technology, and you know what I'm saying, and medical care, which changes, you know what I mean, how he turns out. Or if you go the other way, you've got to strip away those things from the modern fighter.
Hey, gentlemen, I hate to cut this short, but I'm gonna go ahead and have to end this right now. But hey, I have to, man, because I gotta get to some reports done. But hey, it was good to have you guys on as always. Good stuff. We'll continue this conversation tomorrow. I promise you. Get back to this heavyweight talk between Holmes and Ali. I promise you that. Mr. Doc, Charlie Brown. We're gonna finish this later. And Mr. Boxing Today, brother, always a pleasure having you on, man.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
No doubt.
Much appreciated, Mr. Boxing Today. Much appreciated.
Much appreciated, Mr. Boxing Today, Mr. Docadana, man.
As always, y'all, shout out to the commenters in the comment section. K Black, Peanuts and Crackers. Who else in there? 1224529. Female boxing fans. Good to have a female boxing fan in here. Red Fox, DCB, James Boone from the UK. Great drink. Yeah, Alexander. Alexander Mayweather. Blood boxing as always, brother. I appreciate you. Fig from New Zealand. So like Fig. So not Chanu, but Fig. But hey, y'all, we appreciate you for tuning in. So until next time, we out, y'all. Peace.
Bye.
Peace.